Welcome to the Marvel Alliance podcast, where we cover anything and everything to do with the Marvel Universe. From the comics, TV, and movies, we will go from the Mojo-verse to Earth 616 to the Negative Zone to bring the Marvel Universe right to you. My name is the Uncanny Chris.
I'm the podcaster of Mischief, Trasnell.
I am the friendly neighborhood Taylor Field.
Oh, he stole Brent.
Wow. So first,
I didn't know.
Alliance Assemble. It's gone. Yeah. So how come you didn't take the Rider? I swear when you're on here for Dark Phoenix, because Ghost Rider's your boy. So I thought for sure I was going to say the Rider. You took, and it's a really I've never said anything to Brent, but Kirkland, our good friend who's also on Geekverse, also is the friendly neighborhood caster. So it's always been waiting for the day when they cast together and see whatever happens. It's going to implode. But you went with Spider-Man.
I just thought of something relevant, and I could have gone with Ghost Rider, but maybe I'll save that for when you invite me onto his episode in the future.
One day, Cosmic Ghost Rider live.
How you doing today, Chris? Are you happy, or are you going to tell the listeners about how mad you are that I made you change all the headlines?
No, I'm not. I mean, it's a good thing to change all the headlines. I just didn't, I didn't see this coming today. But no, after every single one thing after another, how can I not be happy? Not even just as a Marvel fan, not even as just it as a geek, huge Spider-Man fan. Like I've always said, Spider-Man, Daredevil, X-Men, those are my big three. You give me any one of those, you have my interest.
What are you smiling about there, Taylor? Huh? We have Taylor Field from Geekverse on. Somehow he made his way. How are you doing tonight?
I feel like I ruined your day all of a sudden.
Always, yeah. You and Carl, which you chose a good episode to be on because Carl has a Patreon question for us later. So of course, if people don't know, check us on Patreon. But there's this fan that we have over at Geekverse, and he's on the GUA Patreon as well. He's over Patreon. He supports me, but at the same time, he just trash talks me. So it's great that he sent in a question for us to talk about today.
So basically, like us.
Yeah, pretty much. Just like everyone else in my life. But yeah, let's just get to it because we got tons of stuff. We have another guest that could potentially be joining us. And when I saw the news, I know Taylor Field wanted in on that because he's always down for some Tobey. So ladies and gentlemen, this is the Geek Ultimate Alliance. We have 10 shows on this network. There is a show 7 days a week. Monday is World's Finest True Believer. Chris, you had a retro this week. What did you cover?
Yes, this was our Scott from DC Film Squadcast. This was his first episode talking about the Brubaker Phillips classic, The Fade Out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And we've got coming up a new one next week, and that'll be the last new episode for the rest of the year. We'll be dropping 2 retros in a row, but I'm going out with a bang with this one, with the one next week. So yeah.
It's actually his last episode because we're letting Chris go. We're sorry to say, but no.
This is how you do it on air. You got a Band-Aid right off.
Oh, I want to take the Warner Brother route. I didn't want to tell you beforehand. I just wanted to do it. But no, go listen. That's a good episode. Chris, again, I got to give him a shout because all jokes aside, we did change the rundown, the show topics many times. And this is the 3rd week in a row I've made multiple thumbnails for one episode, but a big thing. Chris keeps this train running, and yeah, go check out that episode. Him and Scott always have good conversations. I've had this epiphany that I've talked to Scott many times. We did the charity thing, but me and him have yet to actually podcast together. So at some point, I'm gonna have to, worlds collide sort of deal. I don't know when it'll happen, but Brent, you're in the chat. Put in a word. I gotta talk to Scott. I feel like it'd be an interesting conversation whenever I hear him on podcast. So check out DC Film Squadcast. So I'm just promoting your guys' stuff, Brent. Go check out Squadcast over there. Tuesday is DC Alliance with Greg and Travis Hines. They break down everything going on in DC. They got to talk a little John Diggle and CW, so Travis was happy about that. Tuesday night, we record live on YouTube, or you can catch us on the feed on Wednesdays. Thursday is either Slice of Film or Ranger Alliance. Ranger Alliance is this week. You can get that early on Patreon right now. $5, you get everything early, ad-free, and exclusive. So that's good. We'll be doing amalgam chats hopefully next week as far as another ranking episode. I won't tell you what the topic is yet, but it's going to be a good one. I'm sure Greg will just spoil it in a few weeks as he always does. Even though I will give Greg credit, I'm going to say that we've talked about some sort of stuff happening in 2021. This is the time he doesn't blow the horn. But anytime we haven't talked about anything, he's like, I think there's something coming. And then I've not talked to him about anything, nothing. So good on him there. And then Friday is superhero discussions with to me, honestly, my favorite podcast right now, their superhero discussions about the Batman animated series, because just hearing Greg see these Batman episodes for the first time and just the things they like, hearing Greg have to watch the Underdwellers episode was great. So great stuff. Weird Science is on Saturday and Sunday with Marvel Comics Roundup. Check out last week's episode. You had Batman and Catwoman #1, and you had King is Black #1. You got tons of big comics coming right now, so check that out. And then Star Wars Alliance is kind of dropping. It records live on Sundays, but then it kind of drops throughout the week whenever Kane can get to it. She's pretty busy right now, so that's everything. I already plugged the network. It's an ad support network. We'll throw to that in a little bit. Let's get into the Spider news. I did the Patreon. Remember, in the middle. I did.
Oh, yes. Oh, you switched it up there.
I did. I just was talking about the Patreon, so I'm like, you know, I may as well just work my way into it. So there you go. But Chris, we got some big news.
I mean, one thing after the other. I mean, this is. I'm still in disbelief, and this is definitely gonna. I mean, we've got some major synergy going on with the news tonight. Not just like the topic, but like one thing's gonna lead into the other, would lead into the other. But Spider-Man 3, little movie. Right now we've had some different titles that we don't know. Can't Go Home Again, Home Invasion. My new thing that I'm gonna put forward is Dude, Where's My Home? Because we've heard lots of big, quote unquote, confirmations. And the first one came out huge from Hollywood Reporter that they can confirm with their sources and giving GWW, Geeks Worldwide, credit for being the first one there, that Alfred Molina is in fact joining the end of not the end, but the third. No, God help us, it's not the end. the Spider-Man 3.
That's why they're going all out.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Blow it all up. But yeah, he is coming back as Doc Ock. And then I almost want to say an hour plus later, Collider comes in and says, we'll raise to that. Our sources say Andrew Garfield, Spider-Man, is coming back. Kirsten Dunst, Mary Jane, is coming back. Gwen Stacy, Emma Stone.
Emma Stone
coming back, maybe. Possible. She is pregnant, so that's going to hinge on that. And talks are currently underway for Tobey Maguire to don the Spider-Man costume possibly one more time. So holy moly, all the stuff in the world. I mean, we've been here. I mean, yes, we've been hearing the rumors. We've been kind of saying, okay, first, we started with Electro, and Jamie Foxx says part of this news is he's kind of pedaled that back a little bit, playing the Tatiana Maslany cards. Like, well, if they call me, maybe, but this is probably the single biggest confirmation. Alfred Molina, that was a cool, great confirmation, but like Collider basically throwing down and saying, no, our sources are saying this. We're putting it on the record. Man, this is awesome.
Yeah, like you said, it's something that the second the Electro thing came, we all speculated, right? And there was other sites that rumored and everything, but it is still nice to have, again, none of this is like a for sure, like confirmed, but honestly, to me, this is as good as it is, especially I think more trades will run with it eventually, but I think that it was just a matter of time. Okay, if this is real, one of them has to pick it up. And I don't know, I wonder if Collider just did it because it's kind of hearsay and people are like, oh, it's known, but we don't want anyone to say it. But it's just like, well, someone's going to do it. And because Hollywood Reporter, they did the Doc Ock one, correct? So it's just like, I'm surprised they didn't do the other ones, but so I feel like it's kind of one of those worst kept Hollywood secrets. Of course, I'm very excited. This is something I've jokingly won for a while, but the reason I say jokingly is because I just didn't think it would happen. For a multitude of reasons, just because I've talked about not even the actors as far as Tobey, but as far as Garfield, it kind of made it sound like, he's not really wanting anything to do with it. MCU is very much concerned with this is our universe, and what is ours, and everything else we don't pay attention to. Marvel, Netflix, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., etc. So I think it's great. I have a tons more questions, but I'm going to get everyone's base thoughts first because there's so much, and we got lots of good questions from listeners and other people from the network too that I did write down. Chris was like, you writing these all down? I did, but what we'll do is we'll all talk and I'll get to these questions because they can kind of tie into some of this. But It's very exciting. It is, I think, now easily for Marvel their most anticipated movie. If this is all true, they can't top this. This is their, I'm not saying like another Endgame. I'm just saying for these solo movies, Thor, Doctor Strange, and that's one thing that tells me too. If this is Spider-Man's multiverse, I feel like Doctor Strange multiverse movie has to be crazy. And I think like people joke about, and we talked about it a while back ago, Chris, but like with this being confirmed, like I think stuff like Hugh Jackman's Wolverine is very much in play for Doctor Strange, even if it's a cameo. I just feel like if this, because what's going to happen is if Spider-Man, this multiverse movie kind of steals the thunder from the multiverse of madness, I think Doctor Strange is going to go all out with other Marvel stuff. And like I've said before, I would not be surprised to see a Chris Evans as Human Torch. Like they're getting crazy. So, Taylor, before you go, I want to ask, do you have a home title? Like, what is your, and also, Chris, I have to clarify because, Brent's always mad when he says it's you can't go home again.
Yes,
can't go home
true.
Again.
You're right. Yes, you can't go home again.
There you go, Brent. But Taylor, do you have a home title? Mine's Home Invasion because I thought, even though now I think he's going to different universes.
Interesting title.
Well, yeah, Invasion. It's a little racy. Yeah, but like,
well, he's got his secret out, so someone's going to invade his home and take him out.
The way I took it, Taylor, was that people from other multiverses were invading New York. So like see home invasion, like the grander one, not like, Aunt May like praying and then like finish it, not that home invasion. So what's your home title and what are your thoughts about this?
Oh, my home title. That's something I haven't really put a lot of thought into. Is that the thing the kids are doing these days? They're all coming up with their home titles?
Well, it has to be, right? We got Homecoming, Far From Home. So it's like, I don't want it to be. I hate this home little gimmick thing, but that's what we're doing.
Gosh. Yeah. Ooh, what would I go with? I'll go with Homescapes.
Homescapes?
Homescapes.
Home escapes?
No. Homescapes.
Why?
I think it's fitting. I think it works.
Okay, so you and I talked about this weeks ago as far as you and I were both not a fan of Electro and that news, but we both said like, okay, if this at least means we're opening the door to a Tobey, specifically Tobey, but that universe, Garfield, stuff like that, we're for it. So it seems like that is the case now, that this is opening up a door of many things. What are just your initial thoughts on seeing Tobey Maguire back in the potential? He's the one still in talks, because if you know anything about Tobey Maguire, he's going to hold up for that big money. He's gonna play the game. But I don't care what anyone says, MCU / Disney will play Tobey the money because he's one of the big benchmarks in this comic book world.
Feige's writing his checkbook out right now, I can tell you that.
He has to. So what are your thoughts about this seeming like it's going to happen?
Yeah, it's, again, like you said, with the Electro, like that news was very much like, of all the characters, we got Electro. I mean, okay, interesting enough, but it definitely opened up that doorway to have you think, oh gosh, this could totally be them making that first step into bringing in all these other characters. I was thinking Tobey, and I know we're going to get more into the other characters as well that have been revealed, but I had no idea to expect anything like all these other characters from that Tobey franchise. I was thinking with Electro, I was thinking, okay, yeah, they're probably gunning for Andrew Garfield, and they're probably going to aim for maybe more of those characters from that universe alongside and this is me being very optimistic, Tobey being in there, but with them just getting all these characters in, like, yeah, go big or go home. Maybe that's mine. Go big or go home. That'll be mine.
No.
I'm making a switch. That's it.
It's better than Homescapes. I don't know.
Like I say, I think it's fitting. No explanation. It's just fitting.
Homescapes.
Oh.
So Chris, you already said your site, but like more base thoughts from you on this?
Again, when we left Far From Home, his secret's out. We kind of said maybe we wanted to believe or not. I mean, we don't know. We had so many different ways. This was not where I was thinking, months after thinking about where are they going with the next one. But then you start seeing the idea of what Doctor Strange is doing, and then they said, "Oh, Doctor Strange." Then I think it started getting more interesting when Doctor Strange was going to be the quote unquote the new mentor in this movie. Mm-hmm. And so how is this connected? Is he just going to be in the movie, or somehow this going to be connected with Multiverse of Madness because it comes out before? So I think this train started going down this path at that point. But I mean, you're right. If this is, I don't want to, I'm trying not to answer your question because I know it's going to come to an eventual question when we get to the investors call. So I'm going to leave that as it may. But this is, to your point, like Collider stepping forward and doing with their sources. I think that's fine because they, like, they're definitely a bigger blog than most. They're, at that point. So they've definitely gotten some good sources. But I would think, I'm thinking that, we've seen it with Hollywood Reporter and Zack Snyder when he released it. They were the first ones to get the first interview with Zack. So this could be a move there. They are going to, you can release this a little bit. We'll give you this nugget. If you hold back everything else that you already know about, we're going to give you the big story.
Mm-hmm. So, and we see that all the time in the press, right? It's like, whether it's like marketing or like negotiating through the press, this is the same as that. So
we got to join. We got a new join.
Yeah, a portal just opened up. Greg looks like he has a smile, like he's here to cause some trouble. But how are you doing tonight, sir? And what are your base thoughts on all this news? You got Tobey. If all this is true, which it seems like it's getting reported by big places, and if all contracts are signed, yada yada. Tobey Maguire, Kirsten Dunst, Emma Stone, Andrew Garfield, Alfred Molina as Doc Ock. That's a big deck. How do you feel about that?
I feel fantastic about it, man. I can't wait to see it. And by the way, Spider-Man Home Style is
Home Style.
Home Style is the name of the movie. So I can't wait to see it, man. I was in the YouTube chat listening to y'all talking, and I was going to get the kids to bed. And I remember tomorrow was Flex Wednesday, so they can stay up late. And I said, all right, time to get on. So I want to talk some Marvel.
What is Flex Wednesday?
They used to have this thing called Flex Friday where like they didn't have school. They still had assignments, but they didn't have school, and they changed it to Wednesdays. So now Tuesday night is like a Friday night for them.
Oh, there you go. I
learned that today. Yeah, it worked out well. I got to be on here. And
COVID.
I love the idea of Tobey Maguire Spider-Man because coming back, even if it's for a cameo, because I enjoyed that Spider-Man. I enjoyed all versions of Spider-Man we've seen so far. There are things I love and hate about each one, but I've enjoyed every one. So I'm excited to see that. Doc Ock, I think, is great. Can't wait to see it. We're going to have Mary Jane Watson and Gwen Stacy.
Yeah, possibly Gwen, just because
that's
pregnant. Yeah,
that'll be cool. I mean, like I said, it depends on how they handle it, but you can juggle all these characters, I feel, and have a good time. I mean, I've seen it happen plenty of times. So we'll see what happens.
I think the big question also is, spoiler alert for, I don't know, however old Amazing Spider-Man 2 is, but Emma Stone's character is dead. At least when we last saw her neck is snapped.
Right.
So not saying, again, if we're going to open up portals to different universes, this could be a different Gwen, obviously a Gwen from a different timeline, or we're just happen to have Emma Stone's Gwen Stacy in this universe. We don't know. That's what a lot of people were even saying. Like, could this be, obviously a Andrew Garfield and Tobey, if he joins up at that point, they're playing Spider-Man, but maybe not the Spider-Man that we're used to from Raimi and I can't remember the director of Amazing Spider-Man at that point from those universes. That could be they're playing Spider-Man, but not from, the universes
we know.
Yeah, we know.
So what you're saying is you'd have an Andrew Garfield, you have a Tobey Maguire, but they wouldn't be the ones from the movies we saw. They just happen to be the Spider-Mans of this.
They would allude to it, but not necessarily call it out by name.
I think we're past that point. I think they are gonna talk about those movies because I think if it was just them two, I'd say they could just be the Spider-Man. But to bring back both their main love interests, to me that shows that they are going to reference the and Alfred Molina as Doc Ock. It's different with Jamie Foxx, as they've said, he's playing a different Electro. My thing with Jamie Foxx is I think he's going to be Electro in Tom Holland's world, but I think what's going to happen is they'll all have touchstones as far as, Andrew Garfield's dealt with a Max Dillon now, and even Tobey Maguire can say in a movie we didn't see that he dealt with Max Dillon, and now this is Tom Holland dealing with Max Dillon's Electro and stuff like that. That's the thing that interests me we are kind of figuring out now what they might be doing for this multiverse is maybe it seems like he's going to be going to different universes instead of them coming to him, because I think he will drop in all of them. They could have this moment where they're all together and everything like that, but I feel like if you bring the love interests, as now I wanted to talk about the multiverse, and I wanted to start with the Amazing Spider-Man verse, because my first one I want to talk about is, of course, oh, that was supposed to be pink. I have no pink.
Gosh, that wasn't.
There we
that
go.
Was not coordinated.
It's the
well.
potential of Spider-Gwen. So this is what. So I've been saying this since the Tobey thing is. So what do you guys, and Heinz has a question about this too, but what do you guys picture as far as if we're jumping 10 years later, what is happening in Andrew Garfield's universe now? You know, like where is he? And the same thing with Gwen Stacy. I don't think it's going to be her. So I feel like it's going to have to be, I guess you're right. It could just be a Gwen Stacy. She's still alive somewhere, but I feel like I don't know if they're going to do Spider-Gwen, but it feels like it's right for the taking. That character's getting more popular. She was in Spider-Verse, so mainstream's starting to know that character. I'm obviously biased because my daughter's named after Gwen Stacy and whatnot. I want that character, but I feel like you have Emma Stone, you have the star, and I feel like that makes the most sense of, let's say they're jumping universes and Andrew Garfield's with Tom Holland Spider-Man and he sees Gwen Stacy, but it's not his Gwen Stacy. So you kind of get that moment of almost very similar to Spider-Verse when Peter Parker saw Mary Jane, but it was his and Mary Jane. So that's the thing, they have to be careful, like walk a fine line. You don't want to completely just rip off and copy Spider-Verse. But what do you feel about the Andrew Garfield side of things? Like where is he? Because when we left him, he was in a pretty dark place. Gwen Stacy just died. He apparently stood by her grave for about 6 months doing nothing for his whole life. So he wasn't doing good. I'm sure he's doing better now, but what is happening in that universe? You know,
I'm willing to bet that maybe Rhino has become like, he's taken over the city, and it's been 10 years of him engaging in all-out conflict against Rhino. No, I think that you're not going to see like a depressed, like washed up Spider-Man. Like he definitely went through that bit of that depressive phase in that movie, but he overcame it and he definitely rebounded, and he's trying to be that hero. So a 10-year-old Spider-Man, like, again, you don't want to have something copying like Spider-Verse. I don't want to say like you'll have something like him like in his room crying, eating pizza like that, but I feel like you might have like a more older, mature Spider-Man who I'm assuming is with a Mary Jane at this time or something along those lines.
Well, and that's what I was, because like I could try to work. I was gonna say, but it just works for what we're talking. Would you rather Garfield's Peter have moved on? This before, I think MJ's the play.
You're gonna have to repeat.
I paused.
Yeah, you paused. Repeat that one
so
more time.
So he said that is Peter going to have met his MJ, or is he going to met Spider-Gwen from a different universe, and that's why he's happy? I feel like he's going to have his MJ. The only reason I've been saying is because Tobey has an MJ. He has an MJ. They will probably meet Zendaya so they can kind of have a touchstone to, oh, this is MJ. We love her on our universe. I think it's a little weird if Garfield's like dating Spider-Gwen, like, oh, I found Gwen Stacy just in a different universe and it all worked out. I feel like that almost like cheapens Amazing Spider-Man 2 to be like, yeah, she died, but I found a different version of her and we're happy. So I feel like you go the MJ route because then there's some sort of connection there. And that's why I could even see Spider-Gwen being her own separate thing, not having anything to do with Andrew Garfield's thing. Because it is, I say it all the time, it's like a joke, but I do hope they were on good terms, because last time they did Spider-Man, they were in a long-time relationship, and now she's there pregnant with someone else's kid. So I hope they're all friendly and whatnot, because I feel bad for the crew if it's an awkward set. Go read about what happened to Dexter after that divorce happened for those 3 years. The crew hated their life working with the divorced couple. It was apparently the worst thing ever. I'm not saying that's these two, but I just hope that everything's kosher. But at the same time, you could actually have Spider-Gwen, and she actually doesn't need to interact with Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man at all. Like, she could be her own separate thing.
Well, to counter that, they could swap out Spider-Gwens. They could bring Bryce Dallas Howard in, you know?
Yeah.
I mean,
that's true. Yeah, you're not wrong.
Get her when she's not doing some Star Wars. Bring her in Jurassic World or whatever we're calling it, Dominion, and do that. Yeah, let's do a little gig right here. Go back to where your roots.
I got an even crazier idea.
I can hear it.
I say we bring in Hydra Man, and we figure out that Hydra Man is actually a clone, and then we take the technology to clone Hydra Man, and we clone Gwen Stacy and turn her into Spider-Gwen in the same universe. That we're not jumping around. And I'm totally stealing an idea from Spider-Man the Animated Series right now.
You just stole the whole arc.
Exactly. So yeah, that's what I said they do. Yeah, that's what I said.
That's true. Yeah. I don't know if we have time to do cloning yet. There's a lot going on.
I totally don't want that. Yeah. No, I do agree with you, Snell. Though, like I like your idea. I like the idea. I think you can have an alternate Gwen Stacy. Like if you're going to do different universes, have a different Gwen Stacy that is Spider-Gwen. Don't even like recognize her as Gwen Stacy. Like make her identity Spider-Gwen, and I think it'd be really cool because it's a character I'd love to see. It's a great way to put the character on screen, and based on the reactions you have from it, you can maybe move forward that character and start something different with it. Because I enjoy the character, I'd love to see it live.
Yeah, and I think something to that is, if you're gonna get Andrew Garfield and Tobey, let's just say you just somehow Tobey, they're not able to get him in there at that point, but you do have Andrew Garfield. Either way, getting a different Spider-Man, a female that has the popularity, your Spider-Gwen, Spider-Ghost. I don't care for that, but it's always going to be Spider-Gwen to me. Silk, whatever at that point. It's really, that's the coolest thing about when they introduce the concept of Spider-Verse in the comics. That is always the coolest thing. Like you got all these different versions, Spider-Punk, you got a Captain Britain version of it. I mean, that's seeing the different versions is what's cool. So getting that kind of, we've seen it in Spider-Verse, the animated movie. Let's see a live action at that point, something along those lines to say it's not just Spider-Man. There are different types. As they said in Into the Spider-Verse, anyone can wear the mask.
Yeah. Well, I think that with Spider-Man now, and it's the same way with Batman, it's the same way with Star Wars. I think that they are developed enough that you can begin to tell stories from a different point of view or a different character that's not involved with the common main character, the Luke Skywalker, the Peter Parker, the Bruce Wayne, and people will enjoy it. Like they have a rich enough history. They have even the common fan knows enough about it. At least the main character in that you could have a story and it'd be really, really good. So expand Spider-Man universe out. I think Spider-Verse showed that will work, or Into the Spider-Verse showed that will work. So I'm down for it.
Oh, you're muted.
Oh yeah.
Well, that really threw me off.
Yeah, it did. I saw him talking. I was like, is there something wrong with my audio?
Yeah, I'm starting a new podcast where you have to read my lips. No, I think Greg brought up a good point as far as it doesn't dilute the main character because then it's not always Bruce Wayne or Spider-Man. And I think we are in that place now. I think 10 years ago, no, I don't think you could do a Terry McGinnis Batman movie, but I think now you could. I think you could do a Richard Grayson. You can easily do a Miles Morales. It's not even a question anymore. I know it's Spider-Verse, but now it's like, if they were tomorrow to also say, yeah, by the way, we're making this movie's going to spin off a live action like Miles Morales movie, everyone would be like, yeah, that's fine. Everyone knows that character. We're seeing that with Miss Marvel. So it makes complete sense. I do wonder, because there was all these small rumors before, and some of these rumors have come true now, that Sony had supposedly been saying as far as like, okay, they're going to do this movie, but then they still have future plans for these characters. That's where the Spider-Gwen thing reigns to me. Go like, okay, I see something with Emma Stone. With Tobey, and that's what I want to talk about next as far as what he's doing, his universe. I feel like when we meet him in his universe, I'm not going to say it's 100% happening, but I'm 99.9% sure he and MJ will have a kid. That's, I think, the route they're going to go to make it a little bit different. I think that would be fun. They're old enough. When we left them, true, it was not a great spot. There was some Venom symbiote stuff going on, but they seem like they're happy to figure it out and they're going to be together. I think that they will have some sort of kid. And like I said before,
Mayday Parker.
That's exactly what I'm thinking. And what my theory has been ever since this was rumors, I still think if you're going to do Miles Morales, I still think you do it with the Tobey Spider-Man, because if you wanted to kill off a Spider-Man to give that kind of that meaning to Miles and do that type of storyline, you're not going to do it, Tom. I think Andrew Garfield, it could, but I don't think he carries the same way as Tobey. Tobey is not in the same class as Michael Keaton, but he, for Marvel, is the Michael Keaton. He is the first of, yes, X-Men was there, yes, Blade was there, but if you look at the first mega, every poster's where every kid had a t-shirt, it was breaking box office records. It was Tobey as Spider-Man, the same way it was Keaton as Batman. They were the first to do it. So he is, I know Katie hates Tobey. She doesn't want Tobey at all, but it's just like, it's not even because I agree he's not the greatest actor, but it's about what he represents, and it's like it's a whole era. And it's the same thing. If that movie bombs, we might not even be here today. If Tobey Spider-Man bomb, we might not be having this conversation with 3 Spider-Men. So where do you guys think we could see Tobey's Spider-Man? Taylor, I'll start with you. What do you think Tobey's doing in this universe right now? Because Kirsten Dunst has come back. They've said that. We have J.K. Simmons. I know I'll ask you another question later because I know there's one character you want to see again other than Eddie, but where do you think Tobey is?
A part of me, oh gosh, why am I drawing a blank? The director for Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness.
Sam Raimi.
Yes, Sam Raimi. I feel like that they are going to be, like, story-wise, they could full on just go into Sam Raimi's original Spider-Man 4 idea. Maybe have Spider-Man living out that experience a little bit, and then just, throw him into this new Spider-Verse that they're building and setting up. Because I feel like with Sam Raimi being obviously involved in the MCU, why not bring him on? He got Tobey those 3 movies. He worked with Tobey for those 3 movies. So to me, that's what makes the most sense. I can't remember who it was Vulture and another character as well.
I don't think we're gonna get Vulturess. Yes, with Anne Hathaway. Well, at one point Anne Hathaway was playing Black Cat, but then they changed it to Vulture's daughter, Vulturess.
And so who are the other villains in there?
Those were just the 2. They had always talked about getting a Kurt Connors lizard, so there's a chance of him, but I don't think you'll see any of those. That's where I'll disagree with you. I don't think they'll go with the new villains. I think because you have Doc Ock coming back, that will be like the touchstone as far as Tobey. There was rumors that I always wonder because now it's been radio silent on Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin, and I wonder if something fell through with Willem Dafoe and Molina was kind of the backup choice, because I still feel like Green Goblin's the bit more classic choice as far as, and to be honest, like, not to say anything bad against Alfred, but Willem Dafoe is like, he's a star. People know who he is. Where Alfred Molina, I still don't think my mom knows who he is. I still don't think my mom knows who Alfred Molina is, but she knows who Willem Dafoe is. So I'm hoping we see him, but those were the initial rumors. All these rumors as far as Dunst and Stone, those were rumors and they seem to be coming true. The only one that hasn't so far is this Willem Dafoe Goblin one. And that's why I wonder if he is not with us anymore as far as the character. So,
which is disappointing at that point. But again, I'm not going to say, couldn't get Green Goblin through this movie. I mean,
yeah, it's still gonna be very good.
Yeah, it's still going to be great. And I did really enjoy, Willem Dafoe as Green Goblin. But I think out of all 3 of them, Alfred Molina was probably the best villain that portrayed him in such the tragic way. I've always thought Doc Ock is always more of the tragic character at that point. I mean, I think Willem Dafoe did a great job as Norman Osborn gone crazy at that point. I think he really rolled into the craziness more than the Norman I got used to when I kind of started getting back into comics. Is he's crazy, but he's also found that Lex Luthor. I'm also a sociopath in that sense. Like I don't have to be the crazy goblin to go after you.
All right.
So what is Tobey doing in the universe for you then, Chris? If you're just fan theory, hypothesize it's 10. Well, I guess it's more than 10 years later. My goodness. It's like, when was the last movie? 2007 for him. So it's 13 years later for Tobey,
Yeah. I mean, even just kind of looking at the comics themselves at that point, I would have, I know in the third one, the second one, he had kind of giving up and figuring out his way. I like the idea of the family. But I think he's had a point. If he's had the family at that point, I think he's found a way to maybe more step away from the light. He's not a Spider-Man as often as he used to at that point. I think he goes out, but it's New York. We've got all these other heroes out there, and maybe he can make reference to it. Said, "Oh yeah, I'm still Spider-Man, but I got the family. I'm only on call every so often, like every third Tuesday, or something like that."
Ben's Daredevil's watching New York the rest of the week for me.
Yeah, exactly. I do like that out of the family, but he's probably the one that's seen a lot of different villains and has probably a lot more scrapes on him to really. I mean, considering where we left him at the third one, I mean, he's seen some serious stuff over 3 films. So, I would have loved to see, even making reference to things that we never saw, that would be kind of cool. But yeah, I could see him kind of stepping away a little bit, but not fully retiring.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Greg?
Well, okay. Going to the Defoe stuff, before I give my spot on where I think Tobey should be. I personally like Defoe as Green Goblin better than I can't remember his name that played Doc Ock.
Even I told you.
No disrespect. No disrespect to the guy who played Doc Ock, the character, the look, anything, because it was fantastic. It really was. But the way I looked at the way Defoe did Goblin, it was almost like the Joker. Because I kind of hold Spider-Man and Batman on those. That's like my highest level of heroes, And I look at Goblin as kind of Joker of Spider-Man, and Defoe did a great job with that. Like, you get that feeling of a character you can't reason with, and I love that, because how do you deal with a character you can't reason with? So I really love Defoe's depiction there. As far as where Tobey Maguire should be, I'm not gonna lie, man. Just completely copy Into the Spider-Verse. Live action. Have Tobey Maguire be divorced from Mary Jane Watson, because it's 50% chance he will be anyway, and have him be this overweight kind of run down, out of shape Spider-Man that's still Spider-Man, but he's not Spider-Man, and do totally copy in the Spider-Verse. Like, I'd love to see it. It'd be great.
Just going with that route. Okay, well,
yeah, why not?
It worked the first time. I think they'll still, because Heinz just asked in the chat, he said, how are they going to fit this all into one movie? And we talked about this last week with Brent, as far as like Endgame, to me, showed that they can juggle lots of characters and lots of things. So I think what you will do is, this is the part I'm trying to wonder, because so we know Electro, right? And we know Doc Ock, and we've heard rumors of other people. What is the actual cause of all this? Is it Wanda? Is it just her popping off in WandaVision? Because if it's not her, I don't know what villain is causing this sort of mess, right? It's not like I have this and blah, blah, blah. So it's just, that's what I've been trying to place, as far as I think Heinz, what will happen is he will get implanted into Tobey's universe, and then Andrew's, and then he'll go back to his universe. And then I think those two might come to kind of help out. It's like kind of some of those lines. I think he'll be I think it will be. And some people, they can say what they want. That's fine. They call Endgame like a greatest hits. I don't have a problem with that, because I think they do lots of great touchstone and character developments. But I think you could see something similar as far as the way they went back in the past. It's him, but going in different universes and meeting these characters. And that's the only way I can think, because if I understand Tobey and Andrew, I don't understand Mary Jane, Kirsten Dunst dropping through a portal. I really don't. I don't see why she'd come through the MCU. Like even the Spider-Gwen, I go, okay, I can buy that. But the second it's Kirsten Dunst, it's like, I feel like something else is afoot here, and it's just like, I can't. And again, we talked about all these other people, but I can't wait to say Kirsten Dunst again. Did her and Tobey have the same chemistry of Andrew and Emma? No, nowhere near. Those two to me are still the greatest combo couple, but they were still like this, like, classic couple as far as comic books goes. And that was really probably for the worst. Comic books started to take that everyone needed a love interest, but it was because of them, right? The whole trilogy was about their love story and stuff like that. The first line in the movie is, this story is about somebody, and it's a poster of MJ. It's this whole boyhood dream. So I think they're going to go to the different universe. I don't know if it comes to them necessarily, because that saves it on time too.
Yeah, I mean, if we are going to go that route, the thing that they're going to have, because we're all one, we need that moment with either both or all three of them together for one sequence. That has to happen. That has to happen. One that I don't care if people say, oh, it's such fan service. You're still watching the movie, so I'm getting what I want. But
but who cares if fan service? Because it's just like, as we've learned, like, not to be a downer, but like Chadwick Boseman, Carrie Fisher, you may never be able to do stuff like this again, So it's like, if you can work out a deal where you could have Andrew, Tobey, and Tom together, I don't care if you have to force the story so much, make it happen, because that is the moment. I tweeted this today, but when I saw the first Spider-Man, I was a kid. When I saw the second one, it was the first year dating my fiance. When I see this third one, like not the second, I meant like Spider-Man, Tobey's Amazing Spider-Man 2. And now when I see this one with all three of them, I'll have my daughter with me that's named Gwen after this character. And that's where I think, again, like the Keaton, Ben Affleck thing, this spans generations. This will be this would have been easily $1 billion movie before COVID happened. But like that moment, that image is something you got to find, even if it's just a quick action scene, them quipping together, and that's it. It has to.
Yeah, well, before I toss it to Taylor and Greg at that point, I would say, I said it a couple of times already, I think even last week, we have not seen the film that shows us the effects of the snap. Okay, yeah, we brought everyone back. We've even heard in Endgame that we don't, like, it released, they even say, like, this released a huge cosmic wave that has the effects that we're not even understanding yet. You mix that with, yes, Wanda at that point, mixing realities. I mean, yeah, your writers who are doing this movie are going to be, I'm going to bow down to you in the sense of bringing all this together, because I'll have my theories like that. Snap, Wanda, that's at least my idea.
Taylor?
I don't think you're wrong. I think with Wanda being in Doctor Strange, it makes sense. So yeah. Anything? I have more questions, but anything immediate that we want to talk about on this that someone wanted to bring up that we hadn't yet?
I just wanted to comment on what y'all were talking about how this is going to work and how it's a possibility. And I've been kind of running math through my head as we go here, and I've come up with a crazy idea.
Whoa! You say it before. You don't.
I
don't
know.
Do math.
Yeah, I don't do math, so this might sound crazy, but Chris, I think you're probably the best voucher for me of I've been calling for House of M to be the main storyline for
very long
Marvel.
time.
Take a shot, everybody.
Long time. I've been calling it for a long time, and it looks like it may go that way. So what if they create a House of M, right, in WandaVision that drags into the movies, okay? And in the movies, Tom Holland is Spider-Man in this new House of M, where everybody knows who he is, and he's Spider-Man. But let's say Andrew Garfield is an actor that plays Spider-Man on TV. And through this, Tom Holland learns of multiverses and different alternate realities. And then you can bring in, somehow figures out to travel to one and finds Tobey Maguire as a Spider-Man. It's a way to get everybody in there. It's a way to introduce multiverse, and that makes sense throughout the somewhat lore, the way it's kind of followed, through these movies to tie things together. I think that, once again, House of M is coming. And I think it's going to be an introduction to X-Men, but that's a different story. So House of M's coming with WandaVision. I think it's going to introduce that, and I think they could.
You got to read what Brent's saying.
What's he saying?
So instead of saying no more, Green Lantern, yeah, Green Lantern's better than Doctor Strange, yeah. No, instead of saying no more mutants, she's gonna just say more Spider-Man, and that's be like, that's a weird quest, Wanda. But I guess that's what's happening.
No, not I know more Spider-Man. Yeah,
that was my play on it. Let's see.
What do you got? What do you got, Taylor? What do you think?
Like, what do I think about how this all connects?
Yeah, what's
together?
the cause of it all? Like, what's the cause? How are we getting all these multiple Spider-Man? Yeah,
he was like, "Wow, it's a great idea."
Gosh, I mean, is there a set reason why it's no one's mentioning Doctor Strange? Is that because Doctor Strange happens after the Multiverse of Madness, or could it be an event happens with Doctor Strange and then they explain that in the movie?
Well, no, it goes WandaVision, and then Loki somewhere in between, and then I'm already calling it Spider-Verse, Spider-Man 3, and then Doctor Strange. So Doctor Strange is after. So I think people have kind of speculated that whatever happens, they see a little effects, but Spider-Man is when really shit goes haywire and Doctor Strange gets brought in, okay, I think he goes there to close some portals, fix some things, but then he realizes, oh, this problem is much more bigger than just Peter Parker bumping into multiple Peter Parkers. I think it's literally the multiverse, and maybe he finds out the cause is WandaVision. I would not be surprised if the end credit scene has something to do with Wanda in Spider-Man, and that sets up him on his path to get to Wanda or find Wanda or to help Wanda close some portals. So Doctor Strange is after Spider-Man.
Okay. I'd really like to see, again, this would be time travel incorporated here, with Doctor Strange, kind of since they're bringing in Doc Ock again, kind of going back to that Spider-Man 2 where J. Jonah Jameson's but it's taken, that's pretty good, but it's taken, when his assistant's what my mind is like all over the place right now.
It's Ted Raimi. He's saying like, oh, blah, blah, blah. What should we call this new villain? And he's like, Doctor Strange. He's like, that's a good one, but it's taken.
Yeah. So what if you had at that point, that's when Doctor Strange in Multiverse of Madness goes back in time and tries to clean up everything. And that's when he encounters like Tobey, and that Doc Ock is alive at that time and everything. And that's how they were like, I mean, that's not going to happen because that would be way too out of this world, but just a cool little thing. How they're going to connect everything together, I guess you're right. It has to be WandaVision. I mean, the show trailers prove that she's going completely loco. So
loco.
Yeah.
Okay, I had this was from Tony Walgator earlier in our chat. He said, who do you think will be next? And he had some joke answers. But do you think there's anybody? So we have Doc Ock, we got Electro, we got Dunst, Stone, Maguire, Garfield. Do we see anybody else? Taylor, I'm going to start with you because I know there's one specific person you probably want to see. And let's see if we match up. But who do you want to see the most out of anybody come back?
James Franco.
Oh, no. See, I was wrong. I thought you were going to go with Mr. Dickovich.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's like a guilty pleasure. Like, I would definitely want the Rent Man himself to come back. I mean, that would be a bold play. Like, why would he be there? Like Mr. Dickovich? Like, why? What context would he be?
Peter's still living there. Well, if Peter's playing if he's playing the Spider-Verse, if he was playing the down and out Spider-Verse version, imagine he's there, like he's moved back with Mr. Dickovich. You know, that would be it. He'd be in that a bad apartment, and Ursula Dickovich would be there and the whole deal. But I think Franco is not going to come back as he's dead, but then he also had some public troubles.
How many other of these characters are dead, but they're bringing him back?
You're 1,000% right there so far. Gwen Stacy, Doc Ock, Electro, but I don't think you'll see Harry. I really don't. Yeah. What about you, Chris? Is there somebody you think, or do you think we've hit our quota of people coming back?
I think there's room for one more, but I don't think it's going to be a major one at that point. I think the last major one that we're still leaving on the table is William Dafoe. Like you said, it's gone radio silent. I think that's the only other one that it's not the only one, but if they wanted to pull a major from it, that could be the big surprise. But some of your him, I would say, what was oh God, what's the actor's name? The one that played
Rhys Ifans.
Yes, was he the
lizard?
Oh yeah. Oh, I was even thinking the guy who owned the pizza shop. Just a walk-on role.
Oh.
Some of those just little ones at that point. But I'm with you. I think Harry Norman, that's gonna be a whole other movie at this point. I think this is what we can get an end credit scene doing that. Finally getting Osborn finally into this universe, but. I'm looking at a chat. We've got some interesting theories of, Brent saying Electro opening up, the having a issue. Electro triggers the portal and Peter goes to Strange for help. I was scrolling up, Fanboy even said Tobey will be happy married, Spidey with Mayday on the way, Garfield's darker Spidey that never got over Gwen's death, and Emma Stone being in the movie as a new Gwen gives me hope by that end. So.
That's tough though, because then because Brent did bring up like Taylor said at the end too, like he is fighting crime, he is getting back on the horse, but it's still just like, you don't know, like he could still be fighting crime, but he could still be pretty bummed. But I don't think they have time to do like him and because that's one thing, and I think people are having fun with it, but people have been like, oh, and Tom Holland's having a cameo in this movie as well. You still don't want it to be completely not about Tom. And I think if you start getting off into this, well, we got to give Garfield a happy ending, not necessarily, because if you look at Spider-Verse, there was only one other character, and that was Peter B. Parker, that got a storyline. The rest of the Spider people, they just wanted to get home. They had stories, but like, I lost my Uncle Benjamin, all this stuff, but like, they were not like Peter B. Parker's the only one that had an arc of he was scared to go back because he didn't want to grow up. I feel like you could have that with somebody, but you got to be careful, because I just don't know if you do Garfield and Emma and the whole thing, and I don't know. It's a tricky web they're walking on.
I know who we all would like to see. Another one. Oh, it's what you want to say, Greg.
I was going to say, it's what I want to say. I'll say Taylor.
We all want to see it.
Well, no, I don't. We may not be talking about the same thing. Taylor stole mine. I was going to say James Franco, but How about Topher Grace?
I was talking about a character, but
let's bring back some Venom. I thought we were talking about actors. We were talking about actors we're bringing back, right?
Oh, I'm just talking about a character. I want to see Venom. I don't know if I want to see
bring back
Topher's.
Venom.
I don't want to see Topher's Venom.
Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that I want Topher Grace to be Venom, but we're talking about characters that have played that in the past that we could bring back. Bring back Topher Grace's Venom. So
that's what I want to ask too.
Put
like,
the mask on him, it looks good.
We have all these other Sony Spider-Verse people coming back, but these are nothing's been mentioned. There's been talks, again, little talks like, oh, maybe Tom Hardy might be in this, but you would think if he's popping through universes, this would be the apt time for him to pop into the new Spunk Inc. or whatever it's called, like with Venom and Morbius. And I find it very, very telling to me if Feige does not have them included in the plans. I know Taylor's with me on this one. We hate the Sony Spider-Man universe over there. We're not fans of it. I don't like anything they're doing over there. Venom's fine, but I just like, I just don't like what they're doing. This whole like a universe without Spider-Man, but it's a Spider-Man universe. You would think if they're included in the plans, they'd want Tom Hardy's Venom to have a cameo or something like that. But it doesn't sound like that's. They could drop in there, but it just feels like they're not a part of the plans right now. Maybe it's just because it's just a crowd movie, so it could happen down the line. Maybe they do want to save that. So I could be completely wrong, but I just feel that Venom was a big movie, but I don't think it has that kind of a touchstone. It's the same way, Greg, you and Travis talk about all the time. I love Aquaman, but I feel like with you guys who are the major hardcore DCU guys, it's always near the bottom of your list or like mid-tier. You guys are never talking about like how you love it. I feel like that's kind of Venom of like lots of people see it, lots of people enjoyed it, but no one's talking about Venom as, okay, I'm sure somebody's out there, but I haven't met the person talking about Venom as their all-time favorite, right?
So do you want to see, like, would it make you more happy to see a Venom cameo or a Tom Hardy cameo? Like, what would make you, like, just if you're going to get one 15-second clip where you get 2 lines and that's it, and you just recognize the character, would you rather be Venom in costume or Tom Hardy?
When you say Venom, it's still Tom Hardy's Venom?
Yes.
Neither. I don't want any of it. I don't. Okay. If I have to choose, I go with Venom.
That's an answer. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but I don't like because I just don't like everything they kind of did with Eddie Brock there. But if I had to choose, it would be Venom, I guess, just because cool, you could get Venom in a Spider-Man movie again. But I don't want them really to connect it at all. To be honest, for me, okay. I want them to Shanghai that.
Brent says in the chat, Greg, did you say you haven't seen Venom?
I have not seen Venom. No,
you've not seen Venom.
I have not seen any of the Sony Spider. Yeah, I plan on seeing Morbius because I like the character. I like Morbius' character. So
not that Venom.
Better you than me.
Even though I love Venom too, I just haven't got around to seeing it.
I said knock knock, let the devil in.
Peer pressure. I'm sure that I'm probably going to see it in the next 2 days.
I may let you just borrow my movies anywhere account just so you can watch it.
You can share a movie on Movies Anywhere.
I can. I got to see if that's shareable. Only some of them are shareable. I'll have to look that up.
Katie shared Inception with me.
Okay, so. I'll have to arrange it to see if that's shareable.
You're Eddie Brock, and I'm the symbiote. You got that Venom. So, Greg, you don't even know about the Eminem classic song Venom that he did just for the movie?
No.
Oh my God! Oh, one day we're gonna dive into this. Taylor, what are your thoughts as far as all this stuff? Do we see? I don't think Morbius, because Morbius will be something else, maybe. But do you see that Sony universe also connected? Because they're so far pulling from everything else. You know.
There's no way. Like when that deal kind of broke out, that the chance of Marvel losing Spider-Man was just super, super high. I don't think there is any reason to think that Sony is not somehow slipped it into the contract or the deal that, you want our Tom Holland Spider-Man, you want Spider-Man period, then this is how things are going to go down. And we'll sweeten the deal. We'll give you access to doing your own Spider-Verse in the MCU for your WandaVision setup if you want. But that being said, you have to let us connect our Venom and our Morbius movies to what you're doing, which that already is pretty much like a guaranteed kind of thing at this point as well, with certain scenarios that have unfolded. But it's again, like you said it already, I don't want to say despise, but I very much hate I don't like the idea of how Sony just handled it. It's like if legit, okay, let's say you were doing a podcast and I had a successful podcast, and then we formed like a contract or whatever that I could let you use some of my podcast like material and stuff, and then we broke it off, and then I kind of like was like, oh well, I got this podcast that only gets like 2 views every month, but here, if I'll give you my main podcast assets, if you let me put my 2 views per month show on your network, like it's just like connecting it all. I don't like how they played that. That's
Taylor was really upset when we were in the theater and when it's Venom, like the preview, and it said like from the producers of Spider-Man Homecoming. And I think that set him off since day one, because it's like technically it is from the producers of Homecoming, but it's like I get what you're saying. It's by association. They're making mainstream audiences think like, oh, the same people that made those Spider-Man Tom Holland movies are the same people making these Venom movies, which is not the case. Technically the company is, but not Kevin Feige. Technically, but the people are different. It's the same company, but like it's not Kevin Feige. It's not the same writers, And
I am gonna put this out there for whatever goes down with Spider-Man 3. Well, if we do indeed get that hat trick of Spideys and we get all these villains and stuff, then please, Sony, do not handle the marketing material this time around.
Oh God, yes. Yeah.
Okay, that's what I wanted to ask, because so here's the thing, and here's one thing I agree with Brent in the chat. Travis was saying that Cap and Tony are done the MCU. I don't think so at all, man. I think they're done for the next 5 years, but I think you have a Captain America, but especially with multiverse, I think Chris Evans will be back. I think Tony, I always call him Tony Stark nowadays. I think Downey will be back. Like I think they're on the bench for now, but
okay.
Yeah, you don't think that, Greg? I think down the line it'll happen.
Well, I mean, I can see you arguing Tony Stark being back and maybe recast as a different character, but Downey being back, that's
I think eventually he's going to learn that
he's not a young man anymore.
But that's exactly it. Yeah. I think it's the same way, because I think we were talking about this with the HBO stuff, and some people in our group chat took exception to me saying that Gal Gadot wasn't the biggest draw. Downey's not the biggest draw either without Iron Man. That's a big thing with some characters. Like they can't go without it. I think Downey, we've only seen one. We're going to have to see what Sherlock 3 does, but Doolittle was a massive bomb, and that was before COVID. So people can't, I know they'll probably try and chalk it off like, yeah, it was in 2020. It was a tough year, but no, this was before things went to shit, and no one cared about Downey as Doolittle. They care about him as Iron Man. And I think there'll be at some point where he'll want that feeling again of like, yeah, I want to be the fucking man again. I want to be the, and I just think whether it's an end credit scene or a surprise, and I've always pitched this, whether you bring Evans back or Downey back, I still think there's fun role for them to be a villain from a different multiverse. Imagine getting Robert. Okay, well, yeah, but imagine Robert Downey coming from a different multiverse, but this time he's like the full on Iron Man villain, like stuff like that. Like maybe he might not be playing this exact same Iron Man, but I think you will see Downey and Evans again one day. I really do.
I could see that, but if they brought him back as the same character, I think that takes away from the everything the sacrifice and everything.
I agree.
The main point about like Endgame, I think that you can bring them back. That's a great idea. I think as villains from multiverse, they don't have to be villains. They could be heroes from multiverse, but it can't be the same person.
But then you work because
it takes every stake is out the window. Like there are no stakes in this universe if it's the same person.
But that's why I don't want multiverse and them still being a hero, because if it's Downey and he's still a hero and he's Iron Man, then it's like, well, it's the same thing. I've always said this before with Chris Evans and Endgame, when they did that whole thing of Paul Rudd being turned into a baby, into an old man, to a young guy. They set up Chris Evans' return right there. He's an old guy. All they need to go is put him in front of this machine. They put the time through him. He's a young guy again. That's all it takes for one last battle. We need your help, blah, blah, blah. So he's set up. Evans is ready to go. I think they on purpose wrote that for anytime he wants it. Downey, it's a bit tougher, but I think there's doors. There's tons of questions that we have from people in the chat and the ones we haven't answered, but let's see. That's assuming a lot about Robert Downey and Snell. Maybe he wants to ride off in the sunset. He could be, but so here's the thing. When I say he will be in it again, I don't mean, okay, he's here for another 6 to 10 movies. I mean, literally he could come back for one movie, a cameo. I just don't think people saying, oh, he's done. I still think you could see a poster one day of Robert Downey again, but you could be right. Sawbone Sanchez, nice name. Sawbone is ready.
I like that name. That's
he said oh my goodness, so the chat kind of bumped up really. He said I was looking at, and then other ones came out. Will there be any other heroes from Tobey or Garfield's universe mentioned? I think, like Taylor was alluding, you could get some fun with Tobey's universe, because maybe there is a Doctor Strange there played by I don't know, Christopher Walken. Just book it, just do it. Maybe again, it will. I'm not going to say never happen. I'm not going to be like some people at Snyderverse and say no one will never go to Disney, but I highly doubt it. But I would love it somehow if they've got Ben Affleck to be Daredevil for a quick scene in Tobey's universe. I think that would just be gold. I think in Tobey, you could hear that, like Chris was saying, maybe New York has heroes now, and that's why Tobey's lessened, because he's sit back. Garfield's, maybe it's just that we lived. I know it's only one less movie, but still like 2.5 hours less time in Andrew Garfield's we spent that we did in Tobey's. We know a lot more of Tobey's universe, and I feel like it was more fleshed out. We have a bit more broader scope of that world, so I don't think we will. And he also brought up, would you see like an alternate Avengers or something like that? I think you could. Chris and I have talked about that as far as these rumors of Tom Cruise playing Robert Downey in or playing Tony Stark in Doctor Strange. I think you could see that in Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, of other characters or other actors playing different versions, because kind of why not? It's fun. That's what the multiverse is.
If that's what they're doing, I'd want to see like a Ray Stevenson come back from Warzone.
Oh, that'd be great. You think they're gonna throw the Punisher in Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness? You really think that?
Oh, well,
was it Cosmic Ghost Rider, please?
Yeah, he is involved with that kind of scenario, right? Yeah, Cosmic Ghost Rider. So you never know; they could dabble in that.
He is. I guess it's just I didn't pick Ray Stevenson as the one they're bringing back. I thought it'd be Berthmall. To be honest, I thought they'd go the Berthmall route.
The only the only issue I have with this stuff is I can agree with bringing the character back, and Clay in the chat says that they bring dead characters back in the comics all the time, and you're right, they do. The difference is when you're talking about a movie and actors age, drawn characters don't. You can draw a character to be the same age for however long you want to. Robert Downey Jr. is not always going to look like Iron Man from 2006 or 7.
They got that de-aging tech.
They got the de-age.
They do. You're right, but I mean, come on, like
I am with Greg.
I'm with you. I'm totally with you, Greg.
Yeah. I just feel like they can bring an Iron Man back, or they can bring a Tony Stark back, or Tony Stark back even. But I feel like it needs to be recasted if they bring a Tony Stark back, unless you're having a flashback of something with Tony Stark's Iron Man in there. And I feel like you can have an older Tony Stark Iron, but then you're seriously talking about retconning stuff. And I had questions with MCU with time travel. I feel comfortable where I am with that now. Don't start retconning the MCU. Please don't start retconning the MCU, because let's just move forward. Don't retcon anything, please.
I don't think they're going to move towards retconning. I think it's just the opportunities. I see the people saying, "Oh, DC got there with Flash and Flashpoint, and now they're copying." It's like, guess what, guys? Again, we said it over and over again. It's you beg, borrow. There are no new stories. They beg, borrow, and steal from the rest of it. We get something that we never thought we would have seen, especially in the MCU. At that point. So,
and I will do a cheap plug, because Heinz said he wished I was making this movie, I'd make it 5 hours. Go check out our amalgam chat. We did a whole pitching the next Spider-Man trilogy, and I pitched a whole trilogy of Norman being the villain, and he pitched a whole trilogy about Doc Ock. So we had some good Spider conversations. So
we're gonna be talking about this for a while, I know, over the next few weeks.
Well, yeah, we are. And I'm just going to throw it now, because I know Greg may leave in midway through the show. So Brent, I'm going to use your fact or fictions now, just because they're both Spider-Man related. So I feel like they're talking points and whatnot. We'll put them in the polls next week. With great power comes great responsibility, will be said by Holland, or to Holland by one of the other Spider-Man. Fact or fiction? I think you got to go fact to this one, because he's never... They said that they did that whole when you don't do something, the little guy gets hurt. That was their version of it. But I think if you're wanting to hit all the nostalgia, all the points, you want to get us back to 2002, I think somebody's going to say that. So I'm a fact on that one.
I think so. I think we've been waiting for a while for any kind of story like that. Someone's going to utter it.
Mm-hmm. Taylor, fact or fiction?
I think it's fact. I think it's their equivalent of "May the Force be with you" at this point. So,
and Greg, you were fact as well there.
Everything in me tells me to take that bet and say fiction, but I don't feel like losing any money. So yeah, it's fact. It's gonna happen.
Greg just sitting back with his hammer, just like looking like a king over here or something. And then Brent, if you're still in the chat, Brent said fact that if you're still in the chat, clarify if this was overall, but in this movie. He said we will see a flashback with the MCU Uncle Ben. Now, like I said, if it's overall, I'll say fact because I think we'll get it eventually. If it's in this movie, it's tough because if we already talked about, like, let's say if they do a Venom stuff like that, there's still so much they could do that could even make it bigger. But I would almost still go fact because I imagine if that line comes up, he might flash back to his Uncle Ben, or just Andrew Garfield and Tobey talking about Uncle Ben would be a cause for him to go back, because Uncle Ben and Tobey's franchise is essential. He's a big part of it. Andrew's, he is for the first half of the next movie. He looks for his killer and then he forgets about his uncle because he just really wants to bang Gwen Stacy. Let's just talk about that. All right. That's all he cares about. There's a weird, creepy scene of him in her apartment. It's weird stuff, but Uncle Ben's not a factor anymore. But they at least still, that'd
be pretty weird in that scene if Uncle Ben's a factor.
well, I don't know. That's true, I guess. Poor Uncle Benny. But I think those two, at least their touchstone, their origins was Uncle Ben. We've only seen this guy on a briefcase so far. They won't even mention his name so far. Am I being part of whiny Spider-Man Twitter? Yes, I'm not part of talking Spider-Man Twitter, but the whininess, just say Uncle Ben's name, God damn it. He was a man. He was your uncle.
What if that's something that they're setting up, like story-wise, let's say, for Spider-Man 3? Tom Holland's Spider-Man here tells a way of somehow getting his Uncle Ben back into his universe, or bringing him back, and maybe that leads to some crazy time travel shenanigans, and you have the whole Spidey crew.
Well, okay, what if it's Brent said he wanted to clarify it is in this movie if we'd see a flashback to him. I guess they don't want to do time travel. I thought, what if there was, no, you can't do that because it would be costing. I thought I was going the route of Endgame went down, he has the scene with his dad, but you don't want to do just the exact same thing with him and Uncle Ben. I feel that'd be too similar.
No, I think this is going to be the secret cameo of who's the actor, who is Uncle Ben in the MCU. That is our secret cameo that they will keep close to the chest until the movie. That is my
Steve
call
Buscemi,
right now.
Here we come.
Do you got any theories?
Steve Buscemi? No, I'm joking.
Nothing right now. That just kind of came to me right now. If they're gonna, all these secrets are coming out. They're putting that up, but that is one they can hold on to and shoot enough.
Do you think that's really big enough? Like if it's something they're going to keep a secret, like is Uncle Ben, who only makes a cameo?
That's been one of the biggest complaints, even in mainstream, of like, where's Uncle Ben?
Yes,
so that would be finally. They're not stupid. They've heard the complaints they do. That's the one thing that's well, there's a few things, but that's a big thing holding out there for Spider-Man's origin. We don't have to rehash it like the other movies had done at that point. We that's fine. We need to see Peter, or that Peter and a scene with Peter and their version of Uncle Ben. Whoever they cast is going to be a big name for that role, and they're going to hold that to their chest. Put me down for that.
Robert De Niro. Do it.
Robert De
Niro.
With the age difference of him versus Tomei. No, they better make him a hunky Uncle Ben. No, and I think because Hines said this in the chat with Taylor's point, like I do agree with Hines that we would have had to have seen him die for us to feel really connected to it. But the point of when Greg, you brought up the whole like, will the mainstream care? The reason why I think they will care is because one, I'm with Chris, that's been a complaint of mine, but that's a complaint of several people of this, like, where's that touchstone? And I get why they haven't done it. They want to be different, but we didn't even know this character's name. But I remember when Force Awakens opened, and that's why I love the scene. I love the movie. But when it's Han Solo and Kylo Ren, and he's on the catwalk and Kylo Ren's walking, and he just says Ben, and it's just a coincidence that they have the same character's name. I didn't mean to do that, but he says Ben, and that was that realization. I just remember gas as like, shit, they named their son after Ben Kenobi. And I felt like if mainstream people got that and gas, like the second, if you just imagine Tom Holland turning and he looks in the camera and says Uncle Ben, people are going to gasp, and then they'll switch and they'll see that actor. And then it's like, hey, Peter, people would lose their mind for because.
So do you need like a Harrison Ford to be there to deliver?
No,
that?
I don't know. I didn't mean it. It was just a coincidence that their name was Ben, but I just mean that moment of, this is huge. And I think that would be a moment to turn around, and then maybe it's in a moment where he's down and he needs some talking up, or he doesn't know if he can do it. And Uncle Ben, maybe that's where maybe it isn't like Brent was talking about. Maybe it's not a Spider-Man that says that. Maybe it is this actor that is playing Uncle Ben that drops there with great power comes great responsibility. And it is like a similar Downey sort of scene, or a Gamora Thanos in the Mind Stone, like something very magical and whimsical, but there's still a emotional feeling there.
It is that moment. And I think I brought it up when Brent and I did our like favorite non-action moments in the MCU. One of mine was Happy speech to Peter at that point. There's been that there's always been a moment in these films that have him trying to uplift himself. That would be when he is down as like in a fight or something like that. He just remembers back or sees, hallucinates that vision of it, and we see Uncle Ben for the first time in it. And yeah, people can say, "Oh, we should have seen what." We get that moment. Be happy.
Sabo Sanchez says Matthew McConaughey as Uncle Ben.
All right.
You could put Matthew McConaughey in just about anything, and I'll probably think it's a good idea. So yeah,
driving is Lincoln. Yeah, it's him and Peter having a big scene in the
Woody
Lincoln.
Harrelson.
Well, they did turn him down for other Marvel movies. It's like, nope.
Greg, it couldn't be Woody Harrelson. Remember, he's about to play the iconic role of Carnage. Oh, actually, you haven't seen Venom. I forgot.
Oh. I've seen that scene, though.
Everybody's seen that scene with that wig. That wig is awful. I don't want to. If that's in the movie, I'll walk out. Oh, that's gonna be. And then and guess what, folks? They named the movie after that line too. The sequel is Venom. Let there be carnage.
Let there be carnage. Yeah.
Crazy.
Well, he didn't say let there be carnage, right? He said
there's gonna be carnage.
There's gonna be carnage.
They changed a few words.
Similar, yeah. Okay.
How do you guys feel about, so let's say they have that Uncle Ben scene in this movie. Do you feel like it'll be repetitive compared to Far From Home, in the sense that we had Peter break down dealing with Robert Downey Jr.'s death, basically, and he was the Uncle Ben equivalent in this sense. So wouldn't it be repetitive to have him go through another breakdown scene?
It's tough, but superheroes love breaking down, you know, like.
And I don't think y'all are talking about another breakdown scene, right? Y'all are talking about a flashback.
Correct. Well, I kind of made reference to at a moment at that point, but yeah, you could do a flashback. It's just a question of where is it coming from at that point, either sharing of the memories of Uncle Ben or things like that.
Well, I think that if you're going to do something like that, you need to do like a flashback. So you introduce Uncle Ben, like say you're going to get a big name character for Uncle Ben or big name actor. You do a flashback to introduce this actor, and then you have like a Man of Steel moment, you know, where you're talking to this person who is not there type deal, and they're giving you advice. I feel like that would be the best way to go with that. And you could really do well with that, you know? And
I just hope
copying. And like I said, every damn movie or television show or story copies. So it's a great way to go. I think it's a good way to do it.
I just hope if they do the Man of Steel thing, you know, Peter doesn't stand there and let his uncle get shot and he could have saved him. You know, I don't want something like that. Just to poke the bit. Chris is shaking his head because he knows I'm just smoking half the chat in there.
To be honest with you, Peter could have stopped his uncle from getting shot. So let's not get too technical. Let's get legal here, you know.
Well, that's what
he could have stopped. He could have stopped his uncle from getting shot.
Oh, both movies. So, both movies. He was a dick, but like he didn't stand by and let it happen.
Oh my God!
He didn't let Uncle Ben get brought to a tornado. Now,
at that point, stop him and say, "Okay, roll credits."
Okay, and someone I don't know who originally said it because now people are memeing, but in the chat they said Keanu as Uncle Ben. I don't think so. I think that would take you out of the scene right away if you look over and Keanu as Uncle Ben. I think you got to get somebody that
with great power.
Yeah,
great responsibility.
You're Spider-Man? Whoa. But no, I think
that in the chat.
I think you have to get someone with like the gravitas word. You have to get someone that you know, but it's not going to stand out. I know people have said Tom Hanks. I just don't think it's going to happen because, again, the age difference with Marissa Tomei. I think they get someone age comparable, but you need a Tom Hanks, I think, sort of actor as far as we know him, we love him, but he's not going to take you out of it because I will say this all the time that to me in Endgame, Peter Dinklage took me out of in Infinity War, that took me out of those scenes was Peter Dinklage because it just felt like he was a bigger actor, and not that he's bigger than all of them, but it was just like he stood out because it's from Game of Thrones and stuff like that. I just couldn't get past it. This is Peter Dinklage right now. That's all I saw. I didn't see that character. So I feel like with Keanu as Uncle Ben, even though the memes could lead to astronomical levels of comedic gold. I don't know if I want that for the movie going forward.
I want to see like a Nicolas Cage. He's already in the Spidey family.
That's the same. That's the same.
No. He's in the Spidey family.
More. So. That stands out way more if it's Nicolas Cage over
him next to Marissa Tomei. I could see them match made.
No, I couldn't do that. Will Smith. Why not?
Why not? Well, yeah. Why not? I guess
my favorite actors.
I don't know if he'll do a cameo though. He's gonna want some big money for that cameo. Yeah. He's like, I'm dead shot. I'm still waiting. They didn't kill me off yet, but.
Hopefully one day. Yeah, we'll see him again.
Well, we have another big talk coming up, but have we added everything on that? That was our longest.
Oh, I'm sure we'll be talking about this maybe come Thursday. So I think
yeah, we have an investors meeting. So yeah, what we're gonna do now is we're gonna take our first break because we're over an hour for our first topic. So, maybe Chris will cut some of those smaller topics we had because that was a big, juicy one. But as always, these ads help support the network. They help grow the network. They help you, or you help us get to do what we do. Sometimes they be a little loud, so just turn them down. Be prepared. I'm going to give you a countdown starting at 3, and then we're going to be right back with talking about Disney Plus and HBO and maybe a little Nolan. So nothing controversial there. There's going to be no hot takes whatsoever. So we'll be back in 3, 2, 1. We're back. We're ready to talk about the least nothing that set up Twitter ablaze yesterday or the past few days with HBO Max and everything.
Yeah. I like how you said like we're gonna cut some of the fat. Like we've got this and then one other thing that contains 3 other small things, so we don't have to do much more.
Good, right. Yeah.
But yeah, no. Travis and I had talked after this news, and it's been the talk since Warner Brothers dropped the big news that they're bringing their whole film slate to HBO Max. And so, we've all been talking about like the effects of this. What does this do for the industry? So kind of our question that leads into the idea of the investors, we're going to get and tie them both together at this point. How will Disney and Marvel, namely Disney Plus, respond to this announcement? And with the investors call that's supposed to be happening Thursday, I'm with a lot of people. One, Disney is going to respond. I do not. It's almost a conclusion of that. It's just a question of when. It will be sometime next year. I don't foresee it immediately. They're going to be the kind of company that's going to. They already hinted that they were already going to drop some of their mid-tier movies that they would consider. Cruella. Okay, I wasn't jumping at joy for that, but they were going to. They had talked about stuff. It's going to be the blockbuster movie, and I could see them basically doing what they did with Wonder Woman. A month before, they're going to say, this is what's going to be happening at that point. I think they've dropped the whole idea of the $30 tier. That was a trial. They had to do it. And I think, Brent on fans, and I think it was Brent or Scott on the Squadcast and Tim at that point, but I want to say it was fans that you can thank Mulan for what WB did. That it did not work. The pay did not work. It did not work as well as they thought it was going to. So, but with the investors call coming, there will be a discussion point about this. They're going to have, if they don't acknowledge it, one of the investors or someone's going to ask the question, what is your response? Again, I'm an investor. I want some sort of discussion point.
So I'll go because I've been chomping at the bit because there's just been like Twitter is just like hot take central right now with everything, and I feel like the best course of action to take of this is whether it's HBO Max, Nolan, Mulan, Disney Plus, this investors call. None of it is a black and white thing. And I saw so many people poking funs at like, oh, think of the people that paid for Mulan. Think of the people that like, look what they did. Well, then you could just go right back and say, well, look at what Warner Brothers did with Tenet. And that clearly didn't work out for them. Since COVID, every studio has been experimenting with different things. And again, when people are saying that whole thing with Mulan, you couldn't tell me if, let's say Mulan didn't happen, if Warner Brothers did that with Wonder Woman, we talked about different movies, but people would have paid up. It's great that we're going to get all these movies for one service or you go to the theaters if it's safe, but everybody was trying different things because let's say Mulan happened, right? And it was just a massive success and Disney's like, this really worked out. People are ready for it. Warner Brothers would have just copied that. Luckily for them, Mulan went first. The same way, yeah, they put out New Mutants, but I still think somehow they put out New Mutants just to put out its fucking misery, because that movie was supposed to come out before my child was even born. They put out Tenet, and Disney got to see, okay, a big blockbuster. If you look at Nolan's track record, he made Dunkirk, which is a World War movie, like a war movie that could be just looked at like Oscar bait, a massive summer blockbuster. So Tenet would have been that. His track record shows that, and shows, okay, it wasn't a blockbuster. So each of them, we've said this every week, are learning from one another. I am with many people, and we were referring to Brent on Fans. He said the same thing that I was thinking. Warner Brothers, I 100% agree with this decision. It's the choice to make with COVID, with everything, and even the future was going to streaming. I do wonder why they felt the need to, we announced Wonder Woman, and then less than a week later, we're going to announce the entire slate next year. I was shocked by that, because why not just even use Wonder Woman as a test? I think it's going to be successful. I may talk to my friend Victor Evans Peters to get me a way to watch HBO Max. But and I will be signing up for that subscription if that is a possibility somehow. But let's say it doesn't. What if it doesn't move the needle and they go, okay, we should have pulled back? Now you can't really pull back. Talk about the egg on your face if you go all of a sudden, hey, those movies we told you you're going to get next year, yeah, we can't do that. And also, this is the thing I've been harping on. I do not agree, and this is where Nolan will come in the conversation. I get it, and this is where me and Travis have been at it a few times this little week, as far as I get what people are saying, Nolan is your typical 1%er. He doesn't get it. He doesn't understand the little guy. He's out of touch. I get all that. I'm not saying there's parts of him that's not. I just think with him, and we've seen a ripple, and that's what we're talking about with Disney Plus and what they'll do. We've seen a ripple through Hollywood these past 3 days of people being upset that they didn't get the heads up. And I think that's what it really comes down to, the fact that you couldn't even make a simple phone call to some of these people to tell them this is what we're doing. And that's where I think Disney will learn. I think if Black Widow does go to Disney Plus, whatnot, you will have a team, you'll have Feige talk to a Scarlett Johansson. And I know Greg, I hope he's listening. I know he's stepped away from him, but people go, oh, they're actors, they don't need that's just the way it goes in this type of business. It's just common courtesy. I know people say they can be hurt like the rest of us. I'm not talking about yeah, they could take a dip in money because of COVID. That's understandable. But it's just for business going forward. And this way, is Nolan being super hyperbolic when he calls HBO Max the worst streaming service? Absolutely. There was a thing called Quibi a few weeks ago. He is that guy who just had a breakup and he's throwing lashes. But the thing is, in an alternate universe, and I think this is what Disney could learn, is what happens if they phone Nolan before they do this announcement. He doesn't like it. He's mad, but he goes, he's going to bite the bullet and play it out. But without a phone call, to me, Disney will see that. Imagine if Warner Brothers loses Nolan over this. Nolan, to me, which is to me, the greatest director in the world right now, has the most marquee name. And what if they could have made a phone call and just saved that? Kevin Feige, Alan Horn, Bob Iger, they will learn from this. They're not, same thing with Kevin Feige in the MCU shows. They're going to talk to Feige first. They're not just going to be like what they did with Legendary. They're a company. They're not going to. And I know, Greg, you're going to go, but Legendary for Godzilla and Dune paid 75% of that budget. That's a massive investment. And they had a chance to sell it to Netflix and get that back. But guess what? Warner Bros. No, we're just going to drop it. So that's the thing that HBO, and there's been all these talks already that I don't think it's going to happen, but the DGA possibly going away from Warner Brothers. If that happens, that's massive for Hollywood, and a lot of people won't work with them. And again, all it takes is simple phone calls, emails before you do it. And I know, Greg, you're going to go, and this is my last point. When we talk about anything with the podcast, if we're going to change something, this or that, I talk to you, and then I talk to other people, and it's a trickle down effect. If I just said, hey, Greg, you're no longer hosting DC Alliance. Yes, Geek First, we own that show, but guess what? We decided you're not going to be hosting anymore. And I didn't even tell you. You just woke up to a Twitter saying Chris is now the host of DC Alliance. You'd be a little pissed. It's at the end of the day, I'm not affecting your job.
Chris is also a little worried about finding time.
But it's just a courtesy thing to do. And I don't get why they didn't. I think Disney will do it, but I don't think they'll do the whole 2021. This is everything. I think they will start with Black Widow and see. And I think people get emails and phone calls and whatnot. Greg, go ahead.
Yeah. Here's the thing. That comparison I don't like, because that comparison is like if you message me and said, hey, we're getting somebody else host DC Alliance, deal with it. No big deal. That would suck. You're right. I hate that. That's not what's happening here. Basically, what's happening here is you texting me and saying, hey, guess what? We're going to broadcast on this new network now. So if we're going to broadcast this, you're still going to make the same money. You're still going to get the same time. You're still going to film the same movies. Nothing is going to change for you except that we're going to broadcast on this network. Okay.
But
like that's the only thing changing for Nolan. I'm sorry. What else is changing for him? Is he losing money?
So, and this is where I agree with you. That is him pushing it back against that. But the thing is, I think he feels, and that's why some of these other talent feel, that they are being treated just like anybody. And with these celebrities, with these actors, they have an ego. And I don't think Nolan just wants to be lumped in the whole thing. I'm not saying he's right. I'm playing devil's advocate. And in Hollywood, it's all about this whole, you got to pamper people. You got to make sure they're well taken care of. And I agree, like Brent says, that I don't think 100% I agree that he will still work with Warner Brothers. I think wherever he goes, though, he will make it in his contract. It has to be theatrical. That's what he's losing. And I said to you, he's losing power as far as before he could dictate and go, oh, I want Tenet to do this. I want this. Him losing this, he doesn't have that power because, like, well, your next movie would just go to streaming. I agree that he's not losing much, but in his mind, he's losing the theatrical. He's losing the power. And then he just feels like another. He just feels like another person at Warner Brothers, not the top shit.
And I get that. I really do. But here's the thing. Like, so you're going to leave Warner Brothers because of what they did here. Guess what? Any studio you go to is going to do the same damn thing. This is the way of the future.
I agree with the streaming. Hey, I don't think so. No,
I can't wait for Taylor to respond.
Yeah, actually, let me hear it. Taylor, respond. I think every studio every kind of company is going to go to the same kind of thing because this is the future of what's going on. I'm not saying theaters are dead because I'm still going to go to theaters if I have a chance to. They're not dead. I love the movie experience, but I'm going to consume. Warner Brothers has 21 movies coming out next year on HBO Max. I'm going to watch probably all 21 of them. You know why? Because I can watch them at home. Now,
you're not watching it in the Heights.
If I only had to go see them in the theaters, I'd probably see maybe 7 of them. Maybe 7. So that's the difference there.
Yeah, and that's a good point. But when you look at all the directors and when you look at especially Nolan out of the whole like pot of these Warner Brothers films, you know, Nolan is definitely, I would say, leading the charge in terms of all these like directors on these films. So if you were to lose like your heaviest hitter, everyone else is going to just jump on board and be like, okay, you know what? We want to give you a job. And it's just like any job that you're good at doing and people want to get you on board at their company, they're going to be offering you like extra vacation days, whatever, like to give you that incentive. And that's what they're going to look at him and be like, you know what, you are very strongly for these theatrical releases, but we'll work everything we can to help you get that. We're going to, you know, bend over backwards for you so that you can have what you want and we get what we want, which is a lot of money and you to be directing all of your weird, wacky movies for Disney or for Universal, you know, all that kind of stuff. So
weird, I like that's how they pitch them. Your weird, wacky movies. Yeah. I don't think Nolan would take kind of my weird, wacky movies. Like and that's where like Clay brought up as far as we don't know the money 100% because that's been a problem supposedly with these actors that when they're saying like, and I agree with Travis, we said last night, I don't think Keanu Reeves is personally texting Warner Brothers saying what the hell's going on, but his team who gets paid by this stuff definitely is. Well, so the thing is like when certain people get points on the back end, they made contracts before COVID and things should change, but Warner Brothers is just using those same contracts during COVID. And if that happens with directors, if you look at someone like Todd Phillips, he made so much money on Joker because the studio didn't believe in it. He said, I'll take the money on the back end. And he made, I think, what was it? Like 100, what was it? 10 million? Like, I can't remember what it was. He made a lot of money for being a director on Joker and more money than people should have. And that's the thing where that's why these people are mad. I said this, Travis and Clay and other people, it's a Scarface thing. You don't fuck with the money. And now that you're fucking with people's money, they're getting mad. And that's the thing. And this is where when Travis said, why do we care what Nolan says? I don't care about like him personally. Why I care is we've heard stuff about James Gunn, Denis Villeneuve. I guarantee you there is you think our text group is massive. Imagine that text group. There is a text group of many directors and actors that feel the exact same way as Nolan, but they're not saying shit because they're scared of what could happen. Mm-hmm. Nolan's falling on the sword for them because Nolan, to me, is the Spielberg of this generation. He's the top dog, so he's going forward and speaking for everybody. I guarantee you the reason I think it matters is because I think lots of other people feel the way he feels. Will that make a difference? I agree with Travis as far as no newspapers to internet. It will probably just change regardless, but I think it could cause some shifts as far as you're a sports fan. that could make a player leave a team. I know Katie and Trev said, oh, he'll never go to Disney. Fuck that. If Disney comes to him and say, hey, your next movie, you don't have to direct a Star Wars MCU. You can direct wherever you want. We'll give you the budget. You'll be in theaters. You're just with our squad. I think he would consider it. It's the same way Martin Scorsese trashed on streaming for years and talked about it. But where did the Irishman release? Netflix. So it's like all it takes is someone to come to you with a great deal and say, hey, this is what you want. We'll give it to you. And
well, that's what I was kind of saying last night in the chat is that, I get, you said it before, it's hard to cry for millionaires at this point, Greg. I agree with that. But, your point, Travis, is you start screwing with people's money. This is why the writers went on strike years ago.
Yes.
When streaming came of age at that point, those deals were not part of those contracts, part of the Writers Guild, and the studios wouldn't negotiate. Again, people say writers are some of the most are not paid as highly as people think. Writers, the writers' room, things like that, they're not. So when you have new ways for people to consume beyond TV, that's why they went on strike. And we saw what happened with that, not just in TV and movies. That's why, again, it's all these deals, like back end deals, points on how it's doing, like all this stuff is all those contracts that are become negotiated by their unions now becomes a big factor. And yeah, I agree. If Warner Brothers did not talk to people at this point, I said it then, this was a power move. We're going to ring the bell. You don't like it? Fine. You're going to be the person. Go on, sue us. You're going to be the person that's going to be withholding the movie that everyone wants, the fans, and then the fans aren't going to want to see it. I don't believe that for a second. If people are going to see the movie at that point, regardless. But this was a power move to say that it was cruddy. But guess what? It's saying God, it's business, not personal. And that's what it is. That's not how you. But again, it does not put WB and Warner Brothers in a good light because they're treating their quote unquote treating their people like cogs in the machine, saying you need us more than we need you, which that's a whole other discussion.
And I wanted to address Hines said oh, well, if Nolan leaves, that gives opportunity for other Nolans to rise, possibly. But when you're on the same thing as right now with the Lakers, Greg, you wouldn't want them to let go of LeBron for some reason. Be like, well, we hope we find the next LeBron. He used wrestling as an example. I don't know, since The Rock and Stone Cold left, wrestling has not been as popular as that. And difference because one broke his neck and couldn't wrestle, one went to Hollywood, but they've never had those type of stars again. And it's the same thing. I don't think Warner Bros. Is going to go business or anything like that, but they've been doing well. And the thing is, those Nolan years, Nolan is the reason he's this top dog is because he changed literally the Oscars. The movies have 10 categories in Best Picture because of him. And The Dark Knight was an influential movie for everybody. So it's the thing of yeah, it's still oh yeah, you lose and whatnot. But I think for them, you don't want them getting the LeBron, the Michael Jordan. You don't want somebody getting that. And that's where it's just I was caught off guard when we tie it back to Disney. I think now at least they saw this. When people say, oh yeah, Mulan, well, they saw what happened here and they go, well, we know the things not to do. We know who to call. We know we're going to get contracts ready. And that's one thing that, again, every time someone makes a move, it could be a positive. Warner Brothers gets to be, yes, we're the first major, we're streaming all these movies. But then it came around as, hey, Legendary's going to try to sue you now. And now that
took 24 to 48 hours for that golden shine to wear off.
And then DGA is well, should we work with Warner Brothers? But yeah, go ahead, Greg.
Well, my thing is, no matter what industry you're in, okay, there's going to be a point in time in your industry where you max out. Period. Point blank. And whether it comes to technology advancing, a pandemic, a natural disaster like we're having right now, you're going to max out. And you can do one of two things. You can either stay where you're at and keep the business as it is and probably eventually die, or adjust. I work for the post office. Nobody sends letters anymore. So we don't focus on mail and letters like that anymore. We focus on packages, which is what everybody wants. You've got to adjust with the times. And that's my thing with Nolan here is I get your passion for wanting to be on the big screen, but adjust, man. How many people do you think have seen your blockbuster movies for the first time, not on the big screen? I'm not saying that your movies aren't great. You're a great director. I love everything you do, but not everybody sees your movies on the big screen for the first time. So why is it such a big deal? Isn't it more important that people like what you're doing, and then what you're doing is adapting to what people are, the way people want to consume things, and the way people want to, the entertainment people want to see, rather than your pretentious look at, well, it's not on the big screen, so I'm all pissed off about it.
I agree.
Make your money and make your movies and let people enjoy it.
Well, I think I don't think he kids himself. Like, not everyone's going to see it when it's in the theaters. I don't think he kids up, but he wants to say it premiered on the big screen the way I've always wanted to see. So
it's an ego thing, then.
It is an ego thing.
100%.
Okay. It is an ego thing. Totally.
But anybody else that we saw that we would say about ego, and I hate this because I'm not defending Donald Trump. If Donald Trump does something about ego, everybody fucking blast him for it. So why are we defending Chris Nolan about
he's definitely been blasted though. I think it's a very
him. I'm just
okay.
And I'm not defending. I've said before. I think you're right as far as streaming, and HBO is right to adapt. I just say my case is that some other people say this too, that I don't think you get this letter. I don't think he writes this big thing about everything if they don't talk to him about it first, and many others. Because his opening paragraph was him saying, many of us went to bed thinking we were doing one thing and then woke up to another. So that's how, again, when I say, why does it matter? He's clearly talking to other directors, James Gunn, Denis Villeneuve, probably ones we don't even know, that were blindsided. It sounds like that's why I don't think it's right, but
they don't want to be treated like a cog. They felt like they should have they built a relationship. They felt they had a good thing, and they felt very offended by what it is. So yes, it's ego, it's pride, but to the point, yes, we're not in a world where business is like family, but they feel like they've both had a good relationship. They felt they were at least owed at least a phone call, a message, and just saying that, because I guarantee you it wouldn't change Chris Nolan's mind. He wouldn't be happy with this regardless, but he wouldn't be, he would still say, well, they at least called me.
Yeah.
But honestly, why does it really matter? Like if it's not going to change your mind, if it's not going to change your mindset, why does it matter? Like I get it. I get it if you say, if you called me, my mind would be totally different. Like I'd be completely changed. I get that. But if you say, if you called me, it wouldn't matter, I'd still feel the same way, then why does it matter if you call it or not?
Because he can make the game. He can he can spin it.
I want to say it matters to him specifically because all of his movies, I feel like they are made specifically for the theater experience. They are so like from the score to the visuals, everything aesthetically featured in his films specifically are for big screen. And again, like you said, like if he gets that call, he'd be angry about it, but he'd bite his tongue, grit his teeth, he'd just move on with his day. But for him just to be making his movies for the big screen and then be told like, yeah, we gotta put these movies out someday. We can't hold on to them forever, so we're gonna just bump them onto streaming for now on, with some theatrical releases, of course. I can see why that would really bother him. Again, streaming has only been around barely a decade, maybe at the most, and it's still a relatively new thing. When you have like multiple generations that have grown up with theatrical releases and theater experiences, and that's something that again, like Nolan is still riding off of. So it's hard to just overnight, like he said, you're just changing a whole, what's the proper term? You're changing a whole foundation, a whole
culture, almost.
Exactly. A whole culture. And that is a lot to change within the span of like 8 hours when you go to sleep and wake up. So
I get that. And you're right. I do understand that part of it. You're right. It can be a little bit jarring, but all I'm saying is in the end, like, and maybe you will.
And also the thing is I don't think many people said, I guarantee you, so he wakes up, right? I guarantee you there was a call made. I think that's another reason why this letter went out, because we also don't know the private conversations they've had. And those could have also went very terribly as well. And that's why I feel, because like when he put out that letter, even I was like, it's a bit much to go like worst stream like that.
Yeah, worst streaming service ever. It's like,
that's how when I read it, I said whatever it is, whether it's just that or whether it's something else, they clearly pissed him off. Like that's what they did. And that's why I don't think, I know everyone's caught up in like it's the theater thing. I don't think it's just all that. But how to tie it all back together is, Greg, I'll ask you, what does Disney do now in the future? The investors call this Thursday, and people speculated what they do. But I just mean in general, whether it's this Thursday or not, do they do the HBO route of, and not even talking about like the town, but do you see them saying, hey, this is our Disney Plus slate 2021, here we go? Or do you see hey, we're going to wait till Black Widow gets closer and then maybe like, because now, like we said, Disney gets to sit back and watch, especially, which is good. Their investors call us this Thursday. So they got to these days to be like, okay, we can get as much information as possible. What do you think they do from here on out? Because again, it's ever changing.
Look, man, this is like playing shuffleboard right now, okay? So Disney took the first little shot, and Warner Brothers sat back and watched where it landed. Warner Brothers took their shot. I think Disney should sit back, see what happens with Warner Brothers, because if there's one thing that's for sure, Disney's not hurting for money.
No, Mando's doing great.
They've got the money. Exactly. They've got the money. They've got great content. They're doing fine the way they are. If
they've got a brand that markets itself.
Exactly. If I, because Disney actually has advantages over Warner Brothers right now with HBO Max. I think that having the international and the Roku is a huge advantage over Warner Brothers. But I say they sit back and they watch what happens, see the success after Wonder Woman, whatever the next, I don't even know what the next movie coming out after that is, but wait 2 or 3 movies, see what's going on, because you're not hurting for money. And then if it seems like it's trending forward, if it's a good success, people really enjoy it, make the move. You got the money to do it.
So this Thursday, when they say, hey, how do you feel about what Warner Brothers did with their streaming service? What do you think the answers they give to investors?
Intriguing, but I want to see what happens with it.
Something like that. Okay.
Yeah, like I said, because they're in no rush. Like, it's not like they have to make a move. You know, we're not playing a game of chess here. They're already on top.
Imagine it's one of those stage meetings again. They're talking and they say, we got a big thing planned for next year. We're so excited. And we just want to welcome Mr. Christopher Nolan. And he walks out. It's not going to happen. Taylor, I'll throw the same question to you as far as what do you think Disney does going forward? But also, obviously, Thursday, it's their year-end one. It's been said this call is going to be 4 hours. So last year when this happened, they announced Loki. They announced a bunch of shows. So we don't know what they're going to announce, but 4 hours, obviously, going to be a lot of questions from investors, but there could be some announcements lined up.
Something big is coming.
Yeah, I think so. With 4 hours, you have to. And the other thing we haven't talked about too is that there's this rumored Disney Star release that is going to be a kind of an add-on to Disney Plus that you could pay more but get the adult content. So like FX, like the Fox properties, some of that stuff, like a Deadpool, Logan. So that could probably
Hulu too, right?
Yeah, but that's where they've said that this may be some like amalgamation, like app or something that you just pay $5 more, you get that. So that to me alone takes an hour if that is a true thing they reveal of, like, hey, the adult, Disney plus version. But Taylor, for this, what do you think Thursday, how do they coax this situation?
I'd say for me personally, if they reveal that new Predator movie, then I'm all
they just announced it. They're not going to reveal it. Calm down.
But no, I think that it's, for me personally, I do think that we're going to get like a good chunk of Star Wars. I think that's something that people are riding off of right now. Everyone's talking about Mandalorian. There's so much excitement in that community and the fan base, especially with Rosario Dawson popping off as Ahsoka. Spoilers, I guess, but
no, it's not.
All this stuff that they've been dabbling in, like Thrawn and Boba Fett popping back off into the series, like all of the stuff is just so juicy. And if they drop us a little bit more on the Obi-Wan scenario, I think that would be huge. I mean, I remember reading the articles about Ewan McGregor walking back into the room, what is it, like the change rooms, I guess, or the set rooms, and he's like, there's my old costume sitting there and everything like that. Like, I think people are just like itching for that Star Wars content. And I feel like last year, from what I remember, it was definitely more focused on the Marvel end. It wasn't really anything Star Wars. So I feel like this time it'll be Star Wars. I feel like they could probably drop some stuff on Avatar, maybe. Not that everyone's like freaking out over Avatar 2 anytime soon, but I feel like it's
as far as when they get that HBO Max question. Worst streaming service ever.
Like, when you say question, you mean like they
will take calls, and I guarantee you someone will be like, okay, so Warner Brothers did this. How would you feel about doing something similar in the future? Something like that. Let's say they get that question.
I mean, they'll be much less blunt and more subtle about their response, but I would definitely see them like, well, we'll be sure to call our employees first or something like that. Like,
they're not going to.
That is not subtle at all.
Their CEO would. I'm sorry. Either Iger or the new one.
Bob Chapek.
Chapek, yeah. Sorry, I've heard them speak. They are not that crude.
But, oh man. So Chris, where are you on this? Because we've talked about this a bit, but your final say, because obviously, and if there's some big stuff we said, Chris and I are going to do an emergency podcast. We don't know time because with this how long it goes, but just look out for that if something big happens. If they just spend the whole
Game
hour,
Awards in the background, because that's going to interrupt our time.
Yeah, featuring Christopher Nolan.
Yeah, exactly. No, I said it when we started this conversation. It's going to happen with Disney. I applaud Warner Brothers for making it. I did not expect them to be the first to this at that point, but they moved it. We can't, as opposed to meme from The Dark Knight with the Joker, you've changed things forever. We can't go back. I don't care what they say in the sense of, oh, it's 2021 only. Sure, Jan. Okay. Yeah. But they will, just like Warner Brothers did not make this announcement without a tent pole to start it. Wonder Woman, Disney will not make that move without starting their tent pole, which will be Black Widow. So, as we've said before, they don't need to make a move right now. They'll respond.
Right.
They'll say, if you remember, we already came out and said that we've already been considering moving some of our films like that. So again, we applaud Warner Brothers for doing that. We're going to wait and see, but we've already announced that we're going to be considering moving our stuff over to the platform. So, be waitful for that. I could see this again, waiting like Warner Brothers did the month before. They throw it out there, boosting subscriptions just at the right time. At that point for that. And they do this damn thing, 30 days. Their free trial went away when Hamilton came out. They long knew that they had to get rid of that free trial when that came out. So they've said on record that streaming is their big focus right now. What people misinterpreted from that statement was like, oh my God, they're moving away from movies. No. And Feige even clarified that the movies are a well-oiled machine right now. They know what they're doing. They have that kind of recipe already. They've got that plan. So we're going to hear a lot of stuff about streaming tomorrow. We're going to see some big announcements with Lucasfilm, Marvel, what that's going to be bringing on to more Disney Plus. I think the one thing that Disney has done well that HBO still hasn't done well is marketing. Again, I said it that Disney Plus, the brand itself, they know how to market. They've done a good job. Yeah, and they have the content. I think they need to get more content on there that has the play like Mando does. That's why we see how many Marvel streaming shows are getting ready to just get on. WandaVision is the start. They've got Falcon and the Winter Soldier already basically in the can. They've got, how many different films. So they've got this glut of content that's ready to come on. Next is, what is the next Mando for Star Wars? What is that? So we're going to hear a lot about that. And again, I think there's going to be the big announcement. And I think the big announcement could be, why do you think we're hearing all this Spider-Man talk? Why do you think it's all breaking? We could possibly see the big Sony and Disney announcement that's saying Spider-Man's back home.
Whoa, that big?
I agree. I agree with you.
I do. Again, that is my cool ranch. I understand it's crazy, but that is when I was hinting at saying, why are we getting all this news all of a sudden about Spider-Man and the idea the leaks are happening now?
How much money would be made by Sony if they ended up getting rid of Spider-Man? I promise you more than they're going to make off the movies they're making.
I just don't see why Disney would do
I feel like they.
No, I'm not saying that Disney buy them. I'm talking about a partnership that they like the deal.
Even so,
the deal.
Yeah, they're going to make more
continues. Money. Like Spider-Man's
anything Sony does to work with Marvel Studios, they're going to make more money. Whether it be selling or whether it be making a partner contract to work with them in movies, they're going to make more money. Which is like my argument about anybody not broadcasting HBO Max. Why they're not doing it? You're going to make more money doing it. But I just sorry.
No,
again, it's a shot in the dark. Again, I know it's crazy at that point, but I'm having fun.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, yeah. I do think a partnership could be more, because we had seen those ads taken down where Spider-Man Far From Home was on Disney Plus and whatnot. And I think especially now, yes, Sony owns these movies, but Spider-Man, Tom Holland's Spider-Man, is part of the MCU. And I mean, the second you bring in Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, they are also somewhat a part of the MCU. And I feel like they would want at least those movies, especially they don't have Spider-Man Homecoming or Far From Home on Disney Plus. They can't have it because of the Sony deal. So I think you'll just see my prediction is I think you will see a furthering of that deal.
Yeah,
and
that's what I was trying to say. I wasn't saying buying it back. I was saying partnership.
That's what I thought. I thought you were doing the whole
partnership
back.
Like that's no. That's it's they're coming home. They're staying with us. We're going to continue the partnership. That's why the leaks are all happening at this point.
That's why I was like, whoa. When you said come home, I was like, wow, that is a big pull. Like they really pulled something.
Yeah, because it does. I agree. It does not make absolute sense for Marvel to buy them because they don't need the money. If the partnership continues, I think that's what people are more worried about at that point. As long as Spider-Man's staying, people feel a little more comfortable with the relationship continuing.
But how long can that partnership continue without
until Sony dies?
Without having Spider-Man in the Sony world.
Oh yeah, that's the tough thing.
You have a Spider-Verse in the Sony world, but you have no Spider-Man. At some point in time, you've got to have Spider-Man in that universe, I feel.
So what about this, Greg? I know now we're doubling back to the Spidey talk, but what if, because we had heard rumors of them saying they could potentially do more stuff with Andrew and Tobey down the line. What if they use the MCU as a spring point to, reintroduce a Tobey? Let's just focus on Tobey, reintroduce Tobey, and they use him as the Spider-Man, or a la, like I was saying, used him as the Spider-Man to bring in Miles, and Sony's Spider-Man over there is a Miles Morales Spider-Man where Tom Holland's in the MCU. So that's way they can feed off each other, but also you got Miles Morales Spider-Man. Yes, a Spider-Man, but very different to Peter Parker. And then if you ever want to do the big crossover, big event, it's right there.
I love it. Perfect. I love that idea. I love having a Miles Morales in the Sony universe. I mean, I would have them in the MCU. Like, I don't care.
Yeah.
I want to see Miles Morales on screen. I love that idea. Wow, that's a great idea. Have it Tobey Maguire bringing Miles Morales into the Sony universe. Perfect.
Yeah.
Great
Uncle
idea.
Bob and I had a long lunch, so I gave him that idea. He's like, "That's perfect." You ran off. So that's how we fund Geekverse. We're paid off by Marvel for years. There you go. Even though The Dark Knight is my favorite movie. Anything else on the investors? No, we're good. Move on to our small little story.
Sure, smaller than comparison.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see what happens, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see what 4 hours brings us. I think we're gonna have a lot of different topics.
Oh yeah.
Man, I didn't think my whole bringing Spider-Man over was just gonna ignite such fervor.
Well,
I just want the partnership to continue. That's all.
Well, it was the way you said it. It was like very because
I know I choose the part because they're coming home at that point. I was trying to keep that home theme at that point, and I should have said staying home with everyone. Yeah. They get their divorce. It's that partnership.
Yeah, they're back together.
Yeah. All right. So we got a lot of Hawkeye news coming at that point. We've got they are shooting in New York right now. We've got photograph. Well, we'll actually start. Well, we'll go start with the thing. We still don't have a confirmation that Haley is Kate Bishop, but we have a lot of photographic evidence that she's playing Kate Bishop. So, but yeah, that's the closest we've got. Haley Steinfeld is Kate Bishop. We've seen a lot of photos. We first saw a very grainy video of them in the subway. Then they kept on improving upon it. We saw some amazing, basically they have got that suit down for Kate Bishop. They pulled that from the comic straight up. We hear that the family is involved from Hawkeye. We don't know about the wife, but the 3 kids are definitely on set. So it makes me wonder what's happened to the wife. But I think the bigger thing about this is our new castings. Variety broke the news. I think I was on Friday. It had several members of the cast, meaning they're ready to admit that they've cast these people. That Vera Farmiga, am I pronouncing her right? Farmiga?
Vera Farmiga.
From Godzilla King of Monsters. What I really enjoyed her with was The Departed.
There you go. Don't start with Godzilla King of Monsters.
No. It's what Variety chose at that point.
Come on, Variety.
We've already knew this. Universe. We knew this from last week. Florence Pugh is officially confirmed to be joining the cast. Fra Fee from Les Mis, Tony Dalton, Better Call Saul, Aquia Cox, who is our Echo, I believe, and Zahn McClarnon from Fargo will all appear in the series in different roles. Vera is supposed to play Kate Bishop's mom, who is my call for Madame Mask. I think that's how they're going to farm that character in, switch that around. Let's see what else.
You looking for set photos, Taylor?
Meanwhile, he will play. Okay, Bishop Dalton will play Jack Duquesne, the swordsman, who is Hawkeye's former mentor trainer. Meanwhile, Fee will portray the mercenary villain Clown, a Polish assassin who in the comics has faced off against Hawkeye multiple times. And it's still unclear whether how we fit in this. And Cox will bring Daredevil's character of Maya Lopez to life, Echo, at that point. So Echo, that's one of the characters I can't wait to see is Echo on screen.
Greg is the prop master. Greg, do you want to do
he's flexing with it. He's just
so a lot of big names with this. I mean, this is really cool. They're bringing all this stuff in.
Yeah, I'm excited. I've said this since Endgame. Hawkeye's in his most interesting point there. It's always a good thing to add talent. I hope Vera Farmiga has a kind of more villainous or bigger role because I think she's one of the best actresses out there. At least maybe even underrated. And I hope she's not Kate Bishop's mom. But yeah, I'm still gonna always be annoyed that Marvel will not confirm Haley Steinfeld, but yet we have photos of her on set with Jeremy Renner. It's just like, I don't get it. It's just a weird thing. It's just I really don't understand. But yeah, they're adding lots of character. Sounds like there's a lot in this show. So I wonder how long it's gonna be versus how many episodes and whatnot. But there's a lot going on. But I'm very excited. And the good thing is they're shooting. So they're shooting. It means they can get another thing in the can. And as I've said before, I'm more excited for the streaming because one, I like most of the characters' storylines they're doing on streaming. But two, we just know we'll actually get that. We don't know for sure we'll get Black Widow in May, but we know we're getting WandaVision. We know we're going to get Loki and What If and Falcon Winter Soldier eventually because they're on streaming and that's what they're built to do. So COVID doesn't affect them. So hopefully they shoot this safely, and I can't wait to see what Clint Barton's up to. And they better not kill off Linda Cardellini. If they kill off his wife, I'm going to be very upset because this is the time you get to flesh her out. She's only in these movies for like 5 minutes less than. It's like, okay, you're getting a show. First episode, oh, we're going to fridge you. Oh, come on now. So I really hope that doesn't happen. I hope she's around. She just hasn't shot her scenes yet.
Taylor, you want to go?
So is this just discussing what we're excited for with the Hawkeye series or what we think about Kate Bishop potentially? Or
you can talk about Godzilla King of Monsters, whatever you want to talk about.
Don't give me that option.
No. Are you well, because there's a lot of names. So do you know who Vera Farmiga is, Taylor?
I think you know the answer to
no,
that.
She's the mom from Godzilla King of Monsters. But
okay.
Are you
who does she play in Inception?
No one.
No one? I thought you said
Departed.
I'm sorry, Departed.
She plays the love interest. DiCaprio. Yeah. What a trick question. Who's she in Inception?
Exactly.
No one.
Yeah, but you getting excited, Taylor, for Hawkeye now? It's filming. Haley Steinfeld she's officially Kate Bishop. She's on the set filming and everything like that. So
yeah, no, I'm very much excited. I the fact that they're going ahead, they're filming, they're underway, I think that's a very good thing. You know, they're not afraid, they're diving into it, and they're going strong. I think a lot of films that are, or not just films, but a lot of companies right now, they're struggling with production. And I think if Disney can go ahead and kind of put their foot down first and make that first step and take the initiative to be working on these things, it puts them in the lead because again, like they're going to be having all this content and new content coming out. They're going to be going ahead and filming Mando season 3, Obi-Wan series, and now they're going ahead with this, and then they'll get back on track with Falcon Winter Soldier. Like it's them just going at it headstrong, and it's something where other companies are struggling. Like obviously, like Batman had a lot of problems with the COVID stuff, and even Jurassic World Dominion was struggling, and they were trying to truck through, but they've had to feature delays. But I think it just it puts them ahead of the curve a little bit, and I'm very excited to see these characters flash off again. Hawkeye's been through so much. He's lost a lot. He gained a lot back, but then he lost still a lot at the same time. So I'm hoping that they don't take away more
Those
from
who
him
haven't
in this.
made, take one step forward. Not so fast, Hawkeye.
So I'm excited.
What about you, Greg?
Okay, so full disclosure, hosting DC podcasts and then publishing and producing 2 other podcasts. I don't get time to watch a ton of news. Most of my news comes from, especially Marvel, comes from this show and a couple of the podcasts, and then the chats that we have, which I catch like every 50-second of because I'll step away from that chat for a second, and I walk away, and I have to scroll for 3 days to get to where it's at now. So, this kind of news is stuff that I hear from y'all, and I look at the Hawkeye series the way I did like WandaVision, the way I did about Mando before it came out, the way I'm not putting expectations on it. I'm not excited about it until I see something in motion. Like I wasn't excited about WandaVision at all, really, until I saw the trailer. Okay, now you've intrigued me. So when I start to see something from this in the future, as far as like a 1 minute, teaser, something like that, I'll get really excited for it, I'm sure, because Marvel is so far like what 23 of 24. Every movie is good except for Guardians of the Galaxy 2. So I mean,
box office might disagree with you.
I have questions about this.
Yeah, but I'm excited for what's going on in the future. I listen to y'all for the news, and whenever I see something come out that is worth watching, I will get excited. But set pictures, okay, cool. Even for DC stuff, certain set pictures I see, I'm like, it's exciting, but I'm ready to see something moving, something solid, finished.
So question for you. So for you, what is something Hawkeye related that would get you excited to see in a teaser or a trailer?
Honestly, I couldn't tell you one thing specifically that would be exciting. Just a good trailer. I mean, like, it's the same thing with WandaVision. There was nothing actually, no, I lie. There were WandaVision. You could have hinted of House of M, and I would have been excited, and they did.
Yeah.
So I was excited about that.
That's all you're gonna get is that wine bottle.
maybe, but at least they hinted at it. With Hawkeye, I really don't know. I don't know what could excite me for it. I mean, I'm not saying that it could be a very good trailer. I just don't know what I'm looking for.
He shoots a picture of Stephen Amell and he says, that's all it is. Yeah. Well, Chris, take our last ad break before we get to Fact or Fiction Comic Book Club here.
Oh, we have another ad break? Jeez.
That's what we do. Yeah. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, another ad break. So it's coming your way right now, and we will be right back. And Greg is sitting there with his glove. He had to get me back. He took that Guardian shot. He had to get me back for my Man of Steel shot. I knew it was coming at some point, and then there it was, So I will pull up the Fact or Fiction. So yeah, what we'll do Fact or Fiction quickly, and then after that we'll let Greg and Taylor go because me and Chris will do Comic Club, and then let me pull them up right here. Yeah. I should have had it, but again, thank everyone that joined the live chat. This was our biggest live chat, and because there was one point the chat was just moving so fast I couldn't actually keep up with it. And then thank you too. I'll thank you as always, but for joining, it was lots of fun. Had some good conversations here. So, and then I can ask Greg and Taylor these questions because they may have not answered these yet. So, here you go. Fact or Fiction. Magneto will be revealed to be Wanda/Scarlet Witch's father in the MCU. 100% of the votes were for fact. So that was for what the listeners thought. Taylor, what do you think about that? We got the X-Men here. Obviously, there is a father-daughter relationship. Are they going to go that route in the MCU, even though they said her parents are dead somewhere? And
how many superheroes are adopted these days, or something like that? I mean, it's easily he could be like he could have been adopted. He could have been the father. I think it's 100% fact, though. I think he could have just handed the kids off to someone else.
Hand them off.
He chose Sokovia, saying, "You know what? You'll be cool here. You have a great life here."
Yeah.
Third world country. Thanks, Dad.
What about you, Greg?
I'm not going to be the one guy who goes against it. So yeah, I got to say fact. It's gonna happen.
Here's an interesting one. This one really tore with Brent when I hit it on last week. Daredevil will debut in the MCU before any members of Fantastic Four and X-Men. Fact, 83%. Fiction, 17%. I like seeing Greg's face because everyone makes that face when I say this question. So Taylor, what do you think again? Fact or fiction? Daredevil will debut in the MCU before anyone in Fantastic Four, anyone in X-Men.
Fiction. I think that I still hold on to my beliefs that in Far From Home, was it New York? You can see that tower that was kind of in the background. People are speculating was like Richard Reed's tower. So I'm thinking that they got, and again, we could see your Chris Evans pop back as Fantastic Four in the some crazy stuff. So that would count technically. So
it technically would. Yeah, Greg.
Sure. I'll actually go fiction too. I think that you're going to see some Fantastic Four simply because the Fantastic Four deal was done way before the Daredevil deal was done. So if they're going to have something in the plans, which they will, they've already had that in the works. Not saying they can't retcon something or do whatever they want to do, but I just feel like, honestly, I just feel it's fiction. I'm gonna take the under on this, or not the under. Yeah, I'm gonna take the downside on this one and bet to make big money and say fiction.
It's okay to be wrong.
That was the opposite, Greg. I said they've had Daredevil longer in house technically. They just haven't had to play with it in
the rights
Marvel Studios.
Right. Yeah. Right. Okay, I get that.
Yeah, and I think the other route we took too is like you could easily introduce Matt Murdock in like Spider-Man or She-Hulk. Like he's very easy to introduce as one character opposed to the family or the mutants.
When you say introduced, what if there's just a name drop? Is that introduced?
I don't think we ever talked about that actually.
Because I know they dropped Stephen Strange's name way before they ever did the character.
Yeah, I said debut, so I would still go with like appearance. You physically see Matt or Daredevil, so. Captain Marvel will share a scene with Kamala Khan in Miss Marvel on Disney Plus. Again, 100% fact for this one. So Miss Marvel's coming out in a few years. They're filming it right now. Will Captain Marvel be in that show and be in the scene with Kamala Khan? It's not that she's just in the show. She has to share a scene with Miss Marvel. Greg.
Fiction, just because I don't know. I'm taking a shot in the dark.
Yeah, I can pick up a coin.
Shot in the dark. Exactly. Flip the coin. Yeah. So
Taylor Field.
I'm gonna say 100% fact. I think that it's an equivalent to their Tom Holland, Robert Downey Jr. and Homecoming. Okay. I think they have that kind of setup going on.
I'm probably wrong, just so you know.
The most important poll we've ever done in all of Marvel lines.
No, you said the eggnog poll was the most important.
This trumped it because our big debate last week. Next time it was a massive debate that you and Brent were in the wrong on.
You and I have a very different understanding of what the word debate means, but all right.
Next time we see Captain Marvel / Carol Danvers, what length will her hair be? Short, long, or in the middle? The reason I brought this up because in Endgame she had the short hair, but it was a wig. So the thing is she gonna wig it out the whole time for a whole movie, or is she gonna actually cut her hair this time, or somewhere in the middle? So, and Greg and Taylor Fillion, if you didn't catch last week, I feel hair is actually important to this character's costume or whatnot.
Not you, Carol Danvers' hair is important on Twitter.
yeah, that's true. I forgot about my name change.
Yeah,
but that's what I felt. So, where do you guys feel as far as what length will her hair be? I know Chris is riveted by this question.
Go ahead, Taylor.
I think that it's going to keep with Endgame's hairstyle. I think to me, it makes the most sense to keep that kind of hairstyle going along. But then again, like looking at all these different superheroes hairstyles, I mean, like it's tricky because you have Thor going from his long, luscious locks to that short hair back to his long, luscious locks and his beer gut. So you don't really know what's going to unfold. But I'm inclined to say it'll be still the short Endgame style.
I have to disagree with you. I think it's going to be shoulder length. I don't think it's going to be extremely long, but I think it's going to be manageable and look good. I mean, it looks good either way, but I think that's going to be about shoulder length will be my guess. So I guess that's medium.
I put it in the middle. So there you go. Okay. Kind of like in between, so.
Let's say extra medium. How about that?
There you go. So Chris, hit us with your 3-factor fictions.
All right. So we'll start easy. We'll do a softball at everyone. We will see at least one actor or actress and the character that they portrayed from the Netflix Marvel shows officially transition to the MCU. And I say character. I didn't say major. I just said character. So anything is fair game.
I'll say fact because if I have to look Kevin Feige in the face and he can tell me Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield can come back, but Charlie Cox can't, I'll slap him right in that face. I don't care because there's no excuses now.
Front, open palm, back of the palm.
What?
You said character, not actor, right?
Well, no, I said that at least one actor and actress and the character that they portray.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah.
He just means like it could literally just be the mailman, and they go, "Look, that mailman was in Netflix Marvel."
Macho Man could be Bonesaw. I got you.
Exactly. I'll say fact because I am I'm just leaning towards I before I was wrong, like on the other side, but I am leaning. I think you could see John Barenthal or Charlie Cox, one of those two. I really do, because I don't think they're going to get movies right away. I think they'll just be supporting characters. So I'll go fact on that.
Greg? Yeah, I'll go. I say fact as well. As much as I would love Charlie Cox to come back, and I do believe he is going to be the Daredevil on MCU, D'Onofrio as well is a character that I think that even if they didn't bring Charlie Cox back, I think that that's a character they're going to bring in as a Kingpin, because you want to talk about a perfect character, perfect person for the role. That's the guy right there. I love Charlie Cox, and I think he's damn near perfect for Daredevil, but I almost feel like I would rather see a D'Onofrio as Kingpin than Charlie Cox as Daredevil if I had to choose one of the two, because he does such a good job. But I think fact for 100%, I mean 1,000% fact. You're gonna see one.
Taylor, what about you? We get Iron Fist back?
Oh, yeah, I'd love to see him pop back in. So just to reiterate this question, so is it to have one of the actors reprising their role as their character?
Yeah, basically. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna say 100% fact. I mean, there's such a huge following for Punisher and Daredevil that I can't see why Feige wouldn't tap into those different medias. And yeah, I am that. I feel like I'm one of the only Iron Fist fans out there, but it's something I could be hopeful for too.
No shot at all. You're seeing that Danny ran back.
Oh,
you,
Danny.
Chris, you make it 4 for 4.
I'm doing fact. I mean, again, we talked about the majors. I was even thinking of the possibility of some of the side characters, and no, not the brother and sister from Iron Fist. No, I don't think we're gonna be. but someone like what's her face, Moss, and her character, the lawyer character at that point. But I think if they're gonna get a draw at that point, we're all saying the right things. Vincent D'Onofrio, Charlie Cox, Coulter, bringing Luke Cage back in. Again, people are gonna flock very quickly. Oh my God, they're back. That is the first, and whoever it is, that's going to be also the signal that anything's on the table. So yeah, right. Fact. Again, I told you it was a softball. I was going after your hearts on that one. All right, here we get a little more. We will get a limited series Disney Plus show focused on the history of the Weapon X program.
Ooh.
Can I go?
Yeah, go ahead.
I say fiction. I don't think that in this universe they developed enough history or enough stuff with X-Men in general, especially not Wolverine, who I feel like even though they probably should focus on another character more, I would hope Storm or Cyclops, they're probably going to focus on Wolverine. I don't think you do anything Weapon X until you've established that character. I don't think it makes any sense to do that. I don't like Weapon X as an origin story, like being the solo origin story. I like it being a flashback type deal. So no, fiction. I don't think they're going to see Weapon X before you see any X-Men.
Well, true. That's more of my point at some point,
But you were saying you're going to see it before, like as an origin.
Nope. All I said was we will get a limited series focused on the Weapon X program.
Okay,
I changed the question on you.
Sorry, yeah, I changed the question.
I was like, where are we going with this?
I think okay, then yeah, you could get a series, but okay, fact, you will get a series eventually. Just depends on where they go.
That's a big turnaround.
It depends on where you go with X-Men. I think that if X-Men is successful, then yeah, you could definitely get a series. But as being like a before X-Men or an origin, no, I don't think so.
Yeah,
but
it's kind of hard to do that.
That was my additive to the question, so sorry about that.
I'll say fact, because you could tie it in, like they didn't really do it in the movies, but like at times Captain America was kind of a part of the Weapon X program and stuff like that. I think it could be fun. I honestly think it would be fun if they made it like an anthology, like each episode was about a different character and their trials and tribulations, and I think that'd be a lot of fun. Yeah, exactly. So I'll say fact. It's not a strong fact because it's a very specific one, but Weapon X does carry a big name, and Wolverine, Laura, that whole Claude people are really popular in X-Men, so that makes sense. So Taylor,
I'm gonna say fact. I think that for sure could be like 5 years from now, 4 years from now, after they get X-Men up and rolling, you could definitely see some very interesting limited series runs of X-Men characters on Disney Plus.
Cool. All right. Last one. Within 10 years, we will see a Disney Plus crossover event series similar to Defenders or the DCCW.
Somebody else take it.
I'm gonna say 100% fact. I think it's definitely, it would have to be in the cards to them. I mean, if they're building up all of these different series with all these different characters, they're introducing Kate Bishop, Miss Marvel, and so many other characters on Disney Plus, She-Hulk and Moon Knight. It just makes sense to have some sort of gathering of all of them. I don't know what shape or form, but within 10 years, I definitely think so, because they've already got the ball rolling, and we have our first Marvel show popping off in like a month. So yeah.
Oh, I agree with you. I think 1,000% fact, man. They've had success with this before. They have a great track record. Like I said, they're like 97%. They're pretty close to being great. Not pretty close. They're great. They're pretty close to being perfect. You're definitely going to see.
Which one are you talking about, Defenders or DCCW?
Well, DCCW is definitely not great. not anymore. Not anymore. I think that you said you're talking about the Marvel series having a crossover, right?
Yeah, just like it. The only one that we've had. Well, the only one we've had.
I was pretty sure what I was. Yeah.
No, I was just saying, like the Marvel. We've only seen a Defenders on the sense of like on streaming at that point. DCCW, we've had Crisis on Earth X, Elseworlds, things like that. That like a crossover uniting these whatever streaming shows they've got.
100%. I think you'll see it. Like I said, I think they're going to go the same route that DC is going with everything is connected type universe, and they're going to be able to connect everything and I think that's better for both companies, to be truly honest with you. It opens up so many more stories, and you can do so many more things, and it makes it a little easier to play with. So yeah, I think fact.
This one's tough for me because I got to see what they do with these characters, because they said Miss Marvel will be in the show and then she'll go into the movies. I still think that with Moon Knight, because I don't think you cast Oscar Isaac just to be a Disney Plus guy. I think he'd be in the films as well. So it's just that thing of what are the trajectory of these characters, and would they want to just save the big crossovers for the films, but them also saying they want to focus on streaming and make that big. I think, and I really liked Defenders. I think I like Defenders a lot more than other people, but I think there were some flaws there. There's been many flaws in the DC CW events, especially with Crisis. I think that was their weakest one, but they've hit some strides as well. So I think I'll say fact, even though, like I said, if this wasn't COVID, I might still be a little bit more wavy of like, do they do a big crossover on a streaming service that, yes, they want to be their crown jewel, but still like crossovers in the box office have been such a big deal, right? Of seeing characters like when Thor and Hulk were together, when Spidey went to Civil War. Exactly. So I think it's one of those, do you do that on TV? But if streaming is the focus, that's a good call. So and again, that's a good thing with streaming. If it doesn't work, they don't got to do it again. So I will say fact as well.
All right. Well, we'll be very curious to see how these all go out, and definitely going to be interesting.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, now it's time for Comic Book Club. So Greg and Travis.
We'll say goodbye, but we do want to answer our patron question.
Oh, of course,
sure
Carl, you son of a bitch.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You gotta, come on now.
Want me to hit you with it now?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm ready for what Carl has.
So Carl asked, he's been listening to the Sandman audiobook and listened to the Wolverine series, and wanted to know, have you listened to the audiobooks, and if so, what did you think? And what is a choice of a story you would like recreated as a new story told in the medium? I praised it. Love Sandman. I consider it more of an audio drama than an audio book, just because of the different actors at that point. Yeah. I'm more partial. I've only listened to some audio books. I like them. I listen to more podcasts and read comics, and I only have so much time in the day, so I haven't really gravitated towards it. But I do like the idea of what audiobooks can do, because there's no absolute way I'm ever going to read Game of Thrones. Ever. Unless I just give up reading comics, I'm not going to read it. So an audiobook would be something I would take, but I'd have to also take a hiatus from some podcasts in order to actually get through it. A series that I could think of, I mean, I like what they're doing with Marvel. I mean, it's a whole new, it's a Wolverine series that is a completely original at that point. So give me a Spider-Man, give me a Daredevil. Give me something, an original story that we haven't seen before at that point. But I think Spider-Man might give you a little bit more at that. What are you pointing at?
Greg just looking last minute at the back of his comic books. What should I pick?
I was trying to think of a good story. I was like, I know a good. I answered this question yesterday, so I know a good story. DC. I'm trying to think of a good Marvel one. So I was looking back. I was like, oh, what do I love?
But yeah, I'll be again. I'm more partial to the audio dramas because I loved the audio dramas I've enjoyed. Or Batman Nightfall. That was an outstanding done one at that point. Not many people know it existed, and then the Star Wars audio dramas have always been great.
Yeah. So. That's where I'll pick up because I honestly haven't listened much. The two that I have is just like biographies. Like when I listen to wrestling biographies, when I landscape, that was lots of time. Like I'm not gonna have time to read this, put this in. It's kind of like a podcast. But then it's specifically the Star Wars ones. Master Apprentice is my favorite one, and that's one of my favorite Star Wars story. I recommend that to everybody. But just the work they put into those, as far as like character or existing story arcs. As far as existing story arcs, it's like the really obvious answer, but I would love them to do Infinity Gauntlet just because there's so many different characters. I think you have some cool sound effects. But as far as story, I think Chris is kind of right with Daredevil because I feel like there's a lot of crime procedural stuff you could do of him being a lawyer and talking and whatnot. Plus, I don't think it's so massive scale that with my Infinity Gauntlet one, like that'd be a big production. If you're just trying to do a weekly podcast that's almost like an audio drama, I think Daredevil could be the way to go. If not, even Punisher, to be honest. Punisher, especially with him, like kind of with Wolverine and him, similar characters as far as always trying to figure themselves out and find themselves, and he's always caught in between this world, and he's a very violent individual. So those would be the ones I'd be listening out. Taylor, I know you're kind of the same with me as far as Star Wars. You've listened to those, but do you listen to any other ones? And if so, who would you like as far as Marvel if they did an audio drama?
I mean, I definitely did the audiobook because we had like free credits we got to cash in on the Master and Apprentice book.
Yes.
So, but other than that, I don't normally find myself purchasing audiobooks. Like I am very much like a hardcover, that crisp paper. Just, I like to smell my novel as
I'm like that with comics. Paper. I'm like that with comics.
Yeah. It's so nice. So I don't think I've listened to an audiobook since Master and Apprentice, to be honest. But again, there's some that are only, I think, audiobooks, like that Count Dooku Asajj Ventress one. Wasn't that only audio, Travis?
Yeah, it was. It was just strictly audio, yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, it depends. If they start doing stuff like that, it's going to kind of force me into that realm. I mean, as much as I wouldn't hate it, because you're right, the sound effects and everything they do is so cool. They do the voices of the characters and everything, and I never thought I would hear what sounded like Qui-Gon Jinn and young Obi-Wan's voice ever again. Right. But they sure as hell did it.
Well, thank you. Oh, go.
I was gonna say I answered this question yesterday, but
I thought never mind. Sorry, I'm so sorry.
No, I'll just kind of reiterate on it. Like I love the Sandman. That was my first audiobook. Absolutely amazing. Chris, you're right. That's an audio drama. Every character is played by a different voice. James McElroy plays the Sandman, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like so it's a pretty good deal. I'd highly recommend it. I've gotten into the Star Wars books. I've read the Thrawn trilogy, and I'm getting to Ascendancy right now, and I'm ready to enter the Empire.
What are you doing, Taylor? Oh my god.
If I had to recommend a Marvel audiobook I'd like to listen to, I'd like to listen to a Secret Invasion book. I love that story. It'd be really cool to listen to. Yes, I'm in the third or fourth chapter in Ascendancy right now, so I like that. Or I would like to listen to was it Ed Brubaker did a Winter Soldier run, right?
Yeah, he's the one. Yeah.
That's the one that I think I'd like to listen to an audiobook of it. I haven't read it yet. Brent recommended it to me a couple of years ago. I still haven't bought it, but I want to read it. I've read a lot of Captain America since then, but I would like to hear that because somebody that was smart recommended it to me, and I've read Brubaker before. It's good stuff. I love Captain America. It'd be a great story to hear, and I love Winter Soldier. It's my favorite. It's the best MCU movie. So.
There you go. Well, Carl, I hope that sufficed. I hope it was good enough for you, sir. But yeah, as Chris was gonna say, thank you.
Didn't mean to kick you off early at that point. I was like, did he answer?
You're good.
But no, thank you too for joining on. It was we had some good conversations there. That main, I think that's our longest main topic we've ever had and whatnot. But it seems like the listeners were enjoying it. So thank you guys as always for stopping by and having some fun.
Doors always open.
Yes.
Thank you for having.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Good
All
times.
right.
And Taylor, man, I never get to podcast with you, dude. We got to talk some Thrawn pretty soon.
Oh,
I'm gonna contact you, brother. We're gonna talk some Thrawn.
Oh, yeah. Sign me up. I'm there.
Well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Future stuff. So you two have a good night then.
Yes. Thank you,
Later.
See you.
Bye-bye.
So now, Chris, we are at Comic Club Vision number 3.
Yes.
This is a very interesting one. This one has my favorite cover out of all of them, I think, because I love it's very. I've talked about this before. I'm gonna say it's every issue, but it's very Desperate Housewives soap opera. This whole issue very much is, especially some of the ending stuff. But just that cover of her literally trying to sweep Grim Reaper under the rug and find what she's
with the Reaper.
Yeah.
I think that's the interesting thing. It's like, oh.
Yeah, no, it's this is a pretty fun episode, and I feel like there's a lot of gears turning in this one as far as you see Vision's motivations, as far as we talked about this before, he's creating his family, but he's clearly doesn't matter how this family is created, he's very attached to them and he's doing almost anything to keep them. And again, we talked about this in the first other issues, but now you see that Virginia is working on a whole nother level than Vision could probably ever imagine. And I think as right now he thinks it's a good thing, but it might turn to be a bad thing when he figures out that she might be hiding some things.
Yeah, I mean, I particularly like the opening where you got the kids trying to, spray paint, the what you're calling this who they are at that point, making fun of them and calling them a slur at that point, and then she just reaches right through and slams them against the wall. It's like, hey, I see you. Don't you run away from me. It's like, ooh, is she going full Terminator on him?
Well, yeah, and again, it's kind of like this. The other issues have been, but there's this underlining something's wrong here. And even then, like the way they draw it is like these panels feel very kiddie and homey, but then not in that moment when she takes like that kid and slams his face against the steel there, like the wall, like it's the way it's drawn, it looks brutal. He's bleeding. It like, that's what I love about this series. It takes the turns very quickly, but then gets back and like, oh no, everything's fine. Everything's normal. But really it's like, no, like I know the guy was doing some bad things in this house, but she took it to quite a violent level to, obviously she didn't kill him or maim him or anything, but that's easily a concussion, maybe a broken nose,
Where'd you get that, honey? Nowhere.
Yeah,
Nowhere.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's it's another, I think we're still doing some, obviously some after effects of the Grim Reaper stuff. We've got Vision trying, putting together back his daughter with Tony Stark's help, and Tony saying, you do this, it might actually kill you. And like you said, he's very devoted to family. It is worth it to him to, like with any parent, you're going to do everything possible at that point. And I truly believe Vision's not acting just because he knows it's right. He's acting because he truly believes his family is worth protecting at that point. But, it's interesting that the side story we get with Agatha Harkness, and the plant, and this is kind of our we've heard the reference to it in the first issue with the plant. Now this is our other real big connection to Wanda in this, and talking about what the plant does. And you do, like, some people don't like the tourists down there, they get scammed and think that they're getting, if they eat the petal, they're going to see the future. Well, they say, well, one, you're getting scammed, and two, you're not doing it right. You got to eat it while hungry, and then you've got to like do it after murder or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's funny because that's why we chose to do this, right? Is the time with the show. Also, we've not seen the show, but you and I agree with the theory as far as Catherine Hahn might be playing Agatha, and even the way they set her up in this comic book feels like almost what these teasers are showing us of like, oh, she started as a neighbor and then she watched their kids, and then they give this whole list of things that happen. And it feels like we don't have that exact context, but it looks like in these teasers, she's getting closer and closer to Wanda and Vision, right? And that's almost what the case is here. So it's interesting. And again, I don't know what the show will do. I don't think they would do this. I think they'd save this more for later episodes as a reveal. But as of right now, it's kind of, I remember reading the first time of kind of, okay, not where this is coming from, because I know of the character, but just it's the panels, except for the blood, are black and white. They're drawn in a different way. So it's to make you feel something else. So again, it's another kind of unnerving, like what's going on here. But before it was just the visions, right? It's their adventures. But now it's like, okay, the side thing of like, clearly I know it's going to tie in, but at the time, like, how do we go in again with the plant, like you mentioned there? So it was a good, like, I think like the real official introduction of her into this series, as far as this one written by Tom King. And it's tough to talk about because obviously there's more stuff coming, but I think they did a good job of planting seeds in this one to get you interested. You may not know exactly what's going on, but
yeah,
you're interested.
I mean, if you're just reading this without having read it the first time, it's like, where are we going with this? Why are we seeing Agatha? Why is she outside of explaining like how you're supposed to be able to see these visions? Why is she killing the cat, or basically turning into basically a panther at one moment?
Oh, I know, and that's scary. It's scary. Those panels are still scary if it's dead. And
I had to go back and forth. Wait a minute, it was a kitty at one point, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and then obviously, like you were talking about with Viv, he does bring her back, but we see, like you said, at any point he's trying to do everything, but like he legitimately threatens Tony Stark's life because they have this machine going on. He's trying to transfer his energy and whatnot and everything he has, and then Tony's like, "I'm gonna pull this because if you don't, you may die." And he says, "If you touch that switch, I'm gonna kill you." And you see the look on Tony's face. He even visioned before he said that preference, like, you know, you're one of my oldest friends, I love you and all this stuff, but I will kill you if I have to. And I think Tony, the reason he has that look on his face is because he knows Vision's not bluffing, that he will do this. And I think it shows, one, that obviously that's just violence that he believes in, but two, again, as I was talking about earlier, it shows how much that this family does mean to him. It's not just he's simply made a family just to kind of feel like everyone else. Maybe that was the intention, but he's definitely been attached to them, even if he's not the most I won't say normal father, but he's not right at the gig yet. Cause like, as far as we know it, especially now, it's like they didn't start off as babies. He just created them. Right. So it's like, he's really thrust himself into fathership without like steps you usually get as a father most time. And I'm not saying people can adopt and stuff, but this is a different situation where if you're adopting, you've probably dealt with other children and whatnot. This is literally creating, and I know we all create human life, but this is literally like, you're creating every little thing about them, like, oh, this is where they're going to look and blah, blah, and this is how they're going to act. So it's mechanic like.
Yeah, and I mean, there was a little intimate moment that between Vision and his wife, and interesting.
Well, and again, that's where it's very Desperate Housewives, like, because if you notice the whole time in like Sex and the City, it's very soap opera. He is the whole time talking about the Grim Reaper and what he's found out,
and she's trying to distract him from it.
Yes, she is trying to distract him with the thing that his heart would desire more, and he doesn't see that because he just thinks, oh, it's just a romantic moment. And I think even then he thinks that this robot, this female robot, is becoming more accustomed to the way she's living her life. So as of right now, he doesn't even think about that, and she's smart to do it that way. We haven't, as far as this issue, got any more information on that video, but the thing is, she still wants to keep Vision off the tray. She doesn't want him thinking about anything. So I like that touch. And again, it just shows like people had those questions of like, are these people going to do it? Because I remember when it was talking about like, yeah, they do it, and that's a Tom King trope, which is good. So
he didn't say they do it. He says other things to really bring that point across.
Exactly. Yeah.
But no, I mean, again, it's you know, the first issue you hit with a bang. This second and third one, I've read the series before, but it's been a little bit. I think I'm hoping I would anticipate the fourth issue. You know, we're going to get another kind of surprise moment because we've kind of just dealt with after effects. So I have a feeling like this next issue, we're probably going to hopefully get something a little more. Let's move it along and kind of get the plot going too. Yeah,
this one was like we learned some vital character stuff and some setup, like we talked about with Agatha, but it's a bit more of a cool down one opposed to the other two, which ended on massive cliffhangers. Like this just ends on the intimacy between those two, but there's not a big like, oh, and this is what's coming. It's kind of like, okay, we see a little pieces of the puzzle, but we don't know exactly how they fit. So I feel like that's almost what the show's probably going to be like too, is very much like this, where as far as we'll get little things and we don't know exactly, but we'll be there next week trying to figure it out. So
see which television show we're spoofing next.
Yeah, well, exactly. Yeah. And you know what? I get they're doing it, but I'm not a big fan of these posters. I like them enough, but they just feel a little lazy, but you know, it's fine. Well,
it is what it is. They at least got marketing, right?
That's true. That's always a good thing to have. So Volume 28 is in the book for Marvel Alliance. That was a big. I'll have to look. That's probably our biggest episode yet. We've done that a few times, but I think it was warranted with that main topic. And again, if you want to join the fun next time, every Tuesday we record this live. But thank you to everyone that was in the live chat. That was lots of fun night. Lots of good conversation in there. I didn't even get to keep up with all of it, but good in there and good questions. And again, thank you to Taylor and Greg. It was a good episode. It was lots of fun. I'm glad because we didn't have much news just 24 hours ago. So
yeah, you never doubt that. We got to say, okay, we got nothing. We got to keep saying that we don't have nothing. We're going to have to do this and that. And Disney's listening. So yeah,
I'll say that on Investors Day. There's nothing. There's nothing.
Thank you, Taylor and Greg, for joining us. That was a lot of fun and to everyone in the chat, but yeah, so we'll see what happens next week. Like we said, be in the lookout, listeners. I'm sure even if the news, I doubt with 4 hours, we're not going to do an emergency. I think something's going to come out of it. We're at least going to do something quick. So I probably, I don't know. We think we're going to do it live. I think we're probably just going to record at that point.
Yeah, it kind of depends because it depends on the time. If we do it late enough, I might be able to throw something together. But this is why you follow the Twitter feeds, because if we go live, you'll know. So. But
you will definitely, if you're not going to watch us live, or if we don't do it, you will definitely see it in your feeds come Friday morning. So
yeah, exactly. So and if not, then it was a really boring 4 hours, which is very unfortunate. So
exactly,
let's hope not that. But yeah, speaking of Twitter, you can find me at SB Snail, whatever I'm doing, whether it's here at Marvel Alliance, whether it's over at Geekverse, whether I'm appearing on other shows, the Patreon, and just as always, thank you for listening, thank you for supporting. We very much appreciate it, and I hope everybody is staying safe out there, because I know holidays and people are getting colds and whatnot. So just stay safe and stay home and watch some Christmas movies and have some eggnog.
Watch some Christopher Nolan.
Exactly. Christopher Nolan. That's what he needs to do. He needs to make a Christmas movie soon. He's going to make the next, what is it? A Christmas Carol, or what was it? Is it a Christmas Carol where they go back in time? Charles Dickens, right? And he talks to that's what he has to do. Yeah, the ghost.
We never got nailed down on if where Dark Knight Rises takes place. It's winter, so
I guess that is a Christmas.
It's never been said it's winter, but
that's true. It's not a Christmas movie though. That's not a Christmas movie. Just because there's snow.
But yeah, so thank you, listeners. You can follow the podcast on Twitter at Marvel Elite Podcast, me personally at Chris Balga. You can email the show at Marvel Alliance Podcast at gmail.com. You can follow the Geek Ultimate Alliance on Twitter at GUA Pod Network. Feel free to tweet, email if you want to provide feedback, ask questions, fact or fictions, just say we're crazy in our theories of where Spider-Verse is going at that point, because gosh knows, if we talk about for over an hour, I guarantee we still just scratch the surface. You please, if you have a minute or two, or actually 30 seconds, can you rate and review the network on Apple Podcasts, or whichever your podcatcher choice may be? Thank you, everyone, so much. As Travis said, stay safe out there, everyone. And as Stan the Man would say, Excelsior, true.